I'd like to call the special committee of the whole meeting for November 10th, 2025 to order. First item on our agenda this evening is roll call.
Raza? Absent. Lancy?
Here.
Beck?
Here.
Malay?
Here.
Malone?
Here.
Wolf?
Here.
Solfa?
Here.
Barron?
Here.
Lehman? Here. Lohman?
Here.
Pieper?
Here.
Fehrenbach?
Here.
Anderson?
Here.
White? Absent. 2 absent, 12 present.
Bob's on the
Oh,
call.
can we?
Are you there, Bob? Can check your audio?
Good.
Thank you.
You're muted.
Got about 100 people in the room, Bob.
He's there, but we can't go until we acknowledge that he is participating. There you go.
Sorry, would not let me unmute. Present.
He's here. Okay.
Absent.
Okay, so Alderman Braz is the only one not here. All right, a reminder to anybody that comes up to use the microphone tonight. First, we have a sign-up sheet over here, and second, make sure you can see the little green light on the microphone when you're talking. That way it gets broadcast and recorded. Thank you. Then item 3 will be approval of minutes from October 28th, 2025 and November 3rd, 2025 special meeting. Anybody care to make a motion?
So moved.
Second. Motion by Solfa, second by Malone. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we have a few items to remove and then add or change to a different location. We're going to move 8.4 up to 8.15 to expedite just having more time for the discussion I know we're going to have. And then we're removing the executive session. We'll do that after the city council meets, so that way we don't have to clear the room in the middle of the 2 meetings. Okay, then we'll move on to item 5, and I'm told we have somebody here for an item that is not on the agenda for tonight. Someone from the public that would like to address us. I believe that's you, sir.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I live, well, first I've been in Batavia since 1998, built a house over by the middle school. I moved to Forest Avenue the end of 2006. So I've been on the creek, on Mahoney Creek on Forest Avenue for almost 20 years. I've dealt with a lot of coyotes. They've become part of me, and I've dealt with them. Something's going on this year. I don't know if it's all the construction or whatever, but they seem to be a little bit more bolder. And if there's a show of hands, have anybody here not met a coyote yet?
I've caught
Okay, you all met coyotes, right? Yeah, has anybody ever tried to get a coyote to move away from you and your pet? Not very easily, okay? And I've had a rescue animal now for about 3 years or so. She's getting a lot braver. She's had to. I have an invisible fence in my backyard. I have almost an acre. That's including the creek in my yard with a bridge. So I'm one of the bridge people on Forest Avenue. I don't live under it. If I did, I'd see a lot more coyotes. But they come and find me. I don't look for them. They're out at 9:30 in the morning. They're out at 5 o'clock in the evening. And seasonally, we have ups and downs, okay? Within the last 2 weeks, my dog's been pretty much 3 to 4 times now. We've had confrontations. One resulted in the schools being shut down, which is a terrible situation, or schools being told that they might have to shut down or whatever. What happened is about 9:30ish, 9:45 in the morning, just let my dog out. I heard a loud noise, went to the back door. I see a coyote running through the yard, and I see her running kind of towards it. She's defending her yard, and I'm screaming like a maniac. And I've had one knee replaced in May. I'm waiting on a second one. I can't run. Haven't ran in 8 years, maybe longer. That's why I have an invisible fence. That's why I train my dog. That's why I spent money on my fence and trained her the right way to stay in it, and she does. But she's being accosted out there. Now, that's nature, right? But when these coyotes now, they don't, well, let me get back to, I do have a point here list, but I had the police canvass the neighborhood the day of my screaming, and I had heard a loud noise myself. They canvassed the neighborhood, they came back to my house, and somehow I got fingers pointed at me that I have a loaded gun back by my back door, which is, in this day and age, that's a very hard accusation to take. And that's not the person I am. So if we want to judge people by looks, and I bring that up because now I got the Facebook crowd on me. I've been called names because they see me in my driveway, because the police have been in my house twice now. Well, 3 times, if we count the pre-canvass and the after-canvass. So somebody in my neighborhood directed them back to my house and told them that I have this going on in my house. Now, this is ridiculous. I do scream. I have to scream like a maniac. I actually couldn't talk the next day because they don't want to move. Okay, this one finally, and I can't chase after it. So then, like I said, the police, I told them I was the one screaming. I said I heard the noise, all whatever, but resources, you guys got it drawn up. It's a horrible situation, okay? And then after that, I had 2 more encounters with the coyote because he's going to come back or she's going to come back. And I had the last encounter was, well, I had one at 5:30 in the afternoon, 2 days later. This was last week. I know we have a time change, okay, because I've been there a while. I understand it's going to come out a little bit earlier. But I'm on the other side of my creek and I have a golf cart because I can't walk. I have almost an acre. So I'm trying to get my maintenance done before the winter happens. I hear barking. It wasn't typical, I got a coyote in my sights and I'm going maniac on the door. It was a bark. It was annoying. I don't want to annoy my neighbors with a dog barking because I don't like to hear a dog barking. Got my paint done, crawl down off my ladder, drive my golf cart up, ready to lay into my dog who's on the corner of my property barking towards Forest Avenue. And there's a coyote 5 foot away from her standing on a berm. And my golf cart's not quiet. And I came up to her like, what the hell are you doing, And then I look and there's beautiful, majestic coyote standing there on the berm. And I get on the golf cart, chase it. I would have jumped the curb if I could have. But I'm not going to ruin my golf cart. So since the prior police incident, I bought an air horn. So I'm blowing my air horn at it, screaming. That entails a wellness check from the Batavia Police Department, from my neighbors. Don't like to hear that either. Glad they did check in on me because I was shaken, because I was pretty upset. And so with all that said, I know we can't eradicate the species, and that's not what I'm calling for. I'm calling for us to be sensible, and I don't know if we can do some kind of study or keep a tally or any calls, or if you want to promote something out there. If you see a coyote, let us know. You guys want to send up a drone with night vision, that'd be perfect, and count the coyotes. You got videos out there. I don't know if the gentleman's here tonight. They took his video down off Facebook, and that's another thing. Facebook, we got 8 groups in Batavia now because everybody likes to take everybody. You say coyote, you're banished. And it's ridiculous, okay? We all have to coexist. My dog should have every right to live in its yard in peace, okay? But I should also be able to do what I've been doing without repercussions of having the police called to my house every time I do it to try to scare off what I'm supposed to be doing. Because nobody else has any answers, I believe. We're not trying to get rid of the coyote. We can't get rid of that coyote. We all decided to live with the coyote. I think we need to take a step back and figure out how we're really living with the coyote. Okay, and anybody that says that a coyote will not attack a child, I have proof of that. I pulled it up because I've I've done the Facebook debate for 2 days. Now I know why it took me so long to get on Facebook. But I like to buy pinball machines, and I had to get on Facebook. I don't want to be on Facebook. But I'd like to let people know that there was a meeting tonight. If anybody else had any questions, or if we can figure out some system, even the bare minimum in the Batavian, let's reprint for if there's new people in the area that don't know what people may be doing. You know, it's the police officer. She was very nice the second time. Said I could blow my horn all I want. I could scream all I want until I believe in noise ordinance, which 9:30, 10 o'clock, whatever day. But that school thing broke my heart. And I feel like my hands are tied now. And because the school's in my backyard pretty much. And I guess I could yell pretty loud, or loud enough for someone to call in that something's going on to warrant a drone in the air and everything else. So I don't know if you guys have any answers. Like I said, study, whatever. We could at least put an article out. Because I've had in years past, I've had a neighbor. I don't know if how long you guys have been here, but in the last 5-6 years, years ago, there was a 3-legged coyote that made it through 2 winters. Now, how does a 3-legged coyote make it through 2 winters? Someone's feeding it. Okay? So I think we have to reiterate all my options that I can do to keep this coyote out of my yard and not have people calling the police on me. So that's all I got to express. I hope you guys can figure something out. Even a tally would be great. I really would hate to bother resources calling 911 every time I see a coyote. And I'm not looking for them. My dog sees them out the window. I go to bed before dark, or inside before dark. Sometimes it is in bed before dark, but I get up late. Like I said, I've seen them at 11, I've seen them at 9, I've seen them at 5. Daytime, nighttime is theirs. I got coyotes that lived in my cottonwoods ever since I've been there. They don't bother me, I don't bother them. So just want to put it out there, and if we could broach the subject again, maybe all the other answers out there that we're doing more construction and maybe they're losing more of their habitat. And, I know I live on Coyote Lane. It's the creek. I take pride in the creek. I've been involved with the creek. We've all dealt with the creek. You guys have done a fabulous job mitigating the creek. I appreciate it. 2015, I could have put a canoe on my deck and it would have been a resort because I am in the valley. So that's all I got to say, and I just hope something could be done that can make people more aware and also let people know what somebody might be doing why there might be a reason. Thank you.
We have in the past put up posts on our website. A couple times a year it comes up, and it's put out there to let people know, one, don't feed them, don't give them any reason to be in your backyard. But I just showed her that's right across the street from my house. After they walked through my driveway while I was standing at the back of my truck, they have no fear anymore.
Nope.
They'll come right through your yard. I've had them over my 4-foot fence on either side of my yard, and I have 3 dogs, so I understand exactly what you're worried about. And my fear is the littlest dog that I have, the rat terrier, will be the one that attacks it.
Well,
because she's very
I mean to interrupt you,
territorial.
but you do see a lot of missing cat posters around, right? Are we seeing a lot of them? So you were going to say so. I hope somebody else has something to say.
Yeah, I think it would be worthwhile to just explore what other municipalities have done about this. I know when I lived in Denver many years ago, they had a pretty aggressive program which involved public education, teaching people how to haze coyotes, how to secure your garbage, how to make where they make their dens less accessible. So there's sort of the private property aspect, but then there are also things the city was able to do. I'm not super familiar with what it was, but it might be interesting to kind of get an idea of what else is out there. Because, Alan, you're sharing, other folks, I mean, it's here. And the less
it's becoming more and more common.
The less we can interact with
everywhere.
coyotes, I like them. They're pretty animals, but
the ones here are hybrids or some because they're beautiful as hell, man. They're
pretty
white.
when they're way over there. I want them to be pretty.
Well, that's
else,
when someone says, "What do you want?" And they were here before you. And I said, "Well, give me your address. I'll send them over to your house, okay? Or knock your house down and give them some more land back." I know my house was built in 1959. That was before I was born, barely, but, you know, that's what I'm saying. It's like a little seed, the little thing we just ignore, but, you know, when they won't move, when they won't budge, it's a little, there's something going on. So,
Lancy?
Yeah, Ron, thanks for coming in and
Yep.
bringing this to our attention, because often things like this just, you know, go unannounced and people just live with it. But I've seen the brazenness of coyotes as well as of late around here. I had one stalk me on the golf course the other day for like 4 holes, literally did not leave within 100 yards of me and just kept following me. So there's definitely something going on there. But I was just going to add on to Alderman Malone's comments and say, what about IDNR and any info they may have or
we've got great resources available to us through the county. They have some fantastic educational materials that we have relied on in the past. And, you know, this is just another great opportunity, like you said, to get that information out there, both from the perspective of, you know, what people can do to deter the animals, to haze them and keep the garbage secure, but also that people might be making loud noises to try to shoo them off of their property.
well, that's what I got going on. That's why I feel my hands are tied,
Yeah.
because believe me, I should be watching TV right now. So, I appreciate your time, and I thank you for listening to me.
Thank you.
So-
Alderman Braza?
Just one more comment. On the City of Batavia Police Department page, there is the coyote management page on there, the link to that, and it also links to a lot of the county resources. And it, again, reiterates the list of things to do and
It's
not
on
do.
the police
It's
website?
on, yeah, if you go to
Okay,
City of
great.
Batavia and Public Safety. And I also, I kind of back up to Mooseheart Woods, and I can hear like packs of them attacking animals and screaming at night. And
Yeah.
so-
Well, maybe, because when I had the 4 police officers the first time, that'd be a good idea maybe if, to say, hey, there is a management system
Yes.
online. I mean, they were more focused on, gunshot reports and screaming, of a maniac or, I can imagine. I have grandchildren and it's my worst. I feel so terrible that the kids would have to, they don't need any more to worry about. And there is reports of coyotes attacking children. Now, I talked to Mr. Mayor here, Bob Dahlstrom. He lets all the kids walk across his bridge to J.B. Nelson. Well, it's time the kids start school, right? They start in the early morning. They're walking across that creek. And God forbid, we got to figure out what our priorities are a little bit. I love the majestic beasts too, but, they're getting a little bit, like you just said, they don't want to move. And that's what I'm getting more and more of. And it's getting more and more, like I said, now just so we have awareness, and I appreciate you guys listening. So thank you.
it probably wouldn't harm to have if we could just start a rough count of how many folks locally are reaching out to either staff or police or complaining of coyotes. And
I think we can
We can
move
take
that
it from
information from just on the police portion of it to a rotation on the face of the city webpage.
Yeah.
That would be excellent, because I also have a lot of relatives and ex-in-laws that like to send police report notices to my children about their father. So I haven't made one of those, and I don't think I made ever one for Batavia, but they got one there like, hey, Dad, what's going on? Or, my son, just circle it, and like, there you go. It's on there, and, and then, like I said, it's easy for people to take, shots at you online that, they like to, I don't like the abuse, so.
We can't regulate that.
Well, I wish you could do something about that. So at least there is one group out there. Well, at least let me post the form. I think it's complaints in Batavia, and I think they made that for me, because all the other ones, you say the word coyote and you act like you're a mass murderer, and it's ridiculous. Nobody's going off for that. It's just you just need them. They need to stay at night. The nighttime's their time. My dog right now is going nuts, looking at all the eyes staring at her out the back window right now, because it's complete pitch black out there. And I tell her, hey, it's nighttime. It's their time. Leave it alone.
Okay.
And she doesn't go out at night. So thank you.
All right, we'll
Your
move.
meeting too. Thank you. Appreciate it.
We'll move on then to the consent agenda. Alderman Barron?
There is nothing.
I think so. Oh. So 7 is a presentation on.
I approve nothing.
Okay. And we'll move on to item 7, which is a presentation on Mahoney Creek Watershed Base Plan. I thought that was underneath the.
Hello. I've been up here a couple times for Mahoney Creek, all the way dating back to 2020, when we started this venture with a watershed. And tonight, I have our consultants, Logan Gilbertson and Cecily Kuntz, that worked with me on the watershed-based plan to present our plan. We submitted it back in March or April of 2022 to the IEPA and finally received our approval letter September of 2025. So this is a formality, but to kind of go through that document, they have prepared a little presentation and we'll briefly go through that with you guys. And I'm happy to pass this around, but at the end of the presentation is also the link and it's on our website. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you guys.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Let me pull this up and. All right. So thank you for having us back. You know, as Andrea mentioned, we've been here quite a few times over the years talking about Mahoney Creek, and this is kind of the culmination of the planning phase. So we'll go through this agenda relatively quickly. We're hoping to take less than 10 minutes of your time. But I know there are some new faces here, so we want to go through the location, kind of the background of all the studies that we've done, the projects that have been implemented. Cecily Kuntz with us. She's the primary author of the report. She'll go through the meat and potatoes of it, and then I'll just give you a quick update on the status of everything. All right, so Mahoney Creek, as we've heard recently, is one of the major streams in town. It's on the east side of the Fox River, drains about 2 square miles. And nice thing about it is almost all of it is within the city of Batavia. It made a lot of our planning documents very easy. The only other major stakeholder is actually the Department of Energy out at Fermilab. 2.7 miles of stream that I have walked the entire thing. We've photographed it many times over the years and we've seen it changing and improving over time. And it's actually a very nice little creek. I really like it. All right, Andrea mentioned we've been working on this since 2020. So we actually started out doing just a stream assessment. You know, we wanted to see what does it look like. This is where we walked the whole thing, photo documented, took notes on every reach. Those are just the different segments of the creek. And one of our recommendations at that time was to do a watershed-based plan. So kind of just semantics, but the master plan focused on the creek and flooding. The watershed-based plan looked at the whole 1,300 acres to really look at everything draining into the creek. So we did submit that plan to the EPA in 2022 and waited a very long time. But during that time, we actually got a couple things done. In 2022, we designed and constructed the 2 basins up near Kirk Road. Those are at the headwaters of the Mahoney Creek tributary. Those provide water quality benefits, but they also help with flood control. We applied for a couple grants along the way, and we actually were the recipient of a GIGO grant. It's the Green Infrastructure Grant Opportunity. So the EPA has given the city of Batavia over $500,000 to implement the next project along the Mahoney Creek. And then, as was mentioned, we recently did finally hear back the plan has been approved. I will pass it over to you.
Thanks. So the reason that the city wanted to develop a watershed-based plan was so that they could determine the health of Mahoney Creek and the watershed, and it would give us an opportunity to quantify the amount of restoration and the types of restoration needed to improve and restore water quality. It also is an opportunity to identify actionable projects and policy updates to improve water quality and build community support to implement those projects over time. And most importantly, the watershed-based plan prioritizes projects for funding, and once the plan is approved, like it is now, it opens the door to additional funding opportunities that weren't available without the plan. So as we said, we just received that final approval. I will not bore you with by reading all of these, but these 9 elements that are listed here are these are the targets that we hit within the planning process, and IEPA agrees that we met that target. And the goals that came out of the planning process were first and foremost to improve water quality, to build stakeholder awareness of watershed issues, protect, manage, and restore natural components of the green infrastructure network, manage and mitigate flooding, and assess and improve policies and regulations to protect natural resources. And with that, I'll turn it back to Logan to go over some of the projects we recommended in the plan.
Thank you. So I've got 4 slides. These tables are actually in the plan. I'm not going to go into these in detail, but a couple things I want to just point out is that out of the whole plan, it's a pretty hefty document. These tables summarize really what is recommended to physically be done to help improve the watershed. Now, a couple of them, when we identify them as a critical area, these are areas that are typically projects that the city has some type of ownership over, meaning that you physically own it, the park district owns it, or it's something that you could take on a industry such as Aldi. They have ownership on lots of these, where they could partner with the city to actually get things done to improve the watershed. A couple of them that are city-owned. There's actually one detention basin at the fire department right off of Wilson that is a project identified that it could go through a retrofit, help water quality in the area. Another one is an island. I know them where they are on the creek. I forget the street names exactly, but it's kind of about Reach 4. I can get you the exact address on that one. But all these, they have different recommendations to them, a rough cost estimate, and kind of based on whether it's critical or not critical, we can say, hey, this should be done if you can within the next 10 years, or if it can get kind of pushed down the road a little bit further. All these projects up here on the next table, these are actual reaches along the creek. I keep saying reach. These are just sections of the creek that have very similar characteristics, meaning the banks are in similar shape, they have similar land ownership and things like that. Creek itself did have many more areas that were deemed as critical. Erosion is an ongoing issue along portions of the stream. So just because something is called critical does not mean it must be fixed or undertaken right away. A lot of the time we will actually lean towards calling them critical, specifically that when we apply for grants, we can say in this document, it says it's critical. You guys approved it. Let's get this done. And that actually will help later on with funding along the way. All right. But overall, the project, the watershed-based plan did identify about $1.2 million in detention basin retrofits that could take place. Some of these are city-owned, some are owned by private property owners, and some are owned by commercial industries. The stream itself has a little bit higher cost associated with it, but I would like to note that a couple of these have actually already been done. I mentioned the detention basins at the headwaters of Mahoney Creek, right at Kirk Road. That has been completed, so we can check that one off the list. Michael Wild Park, that's the one that we actually received some funding from the EPA on. That one's under design, permits have been applied for, and we're hoping to construct that next year. And that kind of leads us into just a summary of everything where we're at right now. So plan being approved, this means we are definitely open for funding. Everything is okay on the IEPA side. We have been using the plan to apply for grants prior to them approving it. As you saw, they did take quite a long time, so we assumed they approved it without a formal letter, but we have that in hand now. Got those basins built up by Kirk Road. The $500,000 in funding is going towards the Michael Wild Park project. And overall, really the point of bringing this to your attention now that we have this formal letter is to request that the city formally adopt the plan as one of your guiding documents. So with that, we do have more information available on the website, and can take any questions you may have.
Anyone have any questions? Dustin?
Looking through the document, I know a lot of the riparian area restoration projects involve managing invasive species and maybe replanting more native plantings. Recently, the Environmental Commission completed a very successful project along the river doing that kind of work. Would it be viable to sort of put together a volunteer effort to do at least part of this work instead of having to wait over the many decade-long period to start rolling these projects out? Maybe spur a volunteer effort to do some of the more accessible work in this program.
Definitely something that we could look into. We've had such a great experience working with HR Green on this project. They've done a lot to reach out to the homeowners, the property owners all along the creek, and many of them, you just heard a gentleman who is very passionate about the fact that this creek runs right across his property. And so there are a lot of people with a passion and probably would love to volunteer for something like that.
I think that would
Andrea?
go a long way.
We can definitely look at the different areas and see access points. Some of the things, as Logan's charts indicated, that they're private property. So that's has a little complexity added to it, but definitely something we can look into.
I also wanted to point out that first project that we were talking about on Kirk Road, I had the pleasure of attending a stormwater management conference at which Andrea and Logan were presenting that project to a whole room full of professionals as an outstanding example of watershed work.
Back.
How often will the stream quality be retested now that the plan is in place?
We currently have a volunteer from the Friends of
Fox River?
the Fox River, Caitlin Shields. She lives in town. She is doing monthly samples that we get tested, so we do have those results. So we can monitor them, and we have noticed trends throughout the seasons.
She does it monthly year-round, all year round? And what is she testing
Most
for?
of there might be a month or two that she had something come up that she missed, but we do have records for the last 2 or 3 years.
What is she testing for?
There's fecal coliform, BOD. If you want to reach out to me, I can share those with you.
I noticed in your memo that it said that there were no policy recommendations at this point, but there is a whole section, I think, of really good policy recommendations in the plan. Is that something, if somebody else will join me, that we could maybe bring back up? It seems like a lot of the things might be a nice, ounce of prevention kind of measures that could help this plan get along further by not adding to the problem down the road.
Do we have any of that on our strategic plan? Because I know that some of the conversation that we have to weigh here is staffing and some of our priorities and everything.
So I believe that in our section on resiliency, we do talk about flood mitigation, and the Michael Wild project is an area where we have experienced some significant flooding issues. So yes, this does go part and parcel with that area of our strategic plan.
But I think what Abby was talking about was with the policies and everything, and I know that when we ask staff to review that, there's time and planning for that. So that's why I'm asking the review of those policies. Is that something, that fits within our strategic plan at this time?
Yes.
With that said, I would then join to have it added to a future agenda.
I'll join.
All right. Thank you very much. And now we will move into the regular agenda, and we'll have resolution 2025-133R to adopt the Mahoney Creek Watershed-Based Plan.
Yeah, so this is exactly what we were just talking about, and it's just a formal resolution to adopt the plan that was just presented. So it makes it really easy for me because it's already all been explained. And I move to pass resolution 2025-133R, adopt the Mahoney Creek Watershed-Based Plan, unless anybody else has any further questions.
Just a clarification. So if we adopt this plan, we can still talk about other priorities in the future.
Yeah. Okay. This is going to allow us to, keep on working to get grants. Free money is always good.
And that way, with the plan, that lays that out, and then when we know that there's grant money available or when it fits into the budget, we add that in. And that way we have a plan already. We're not grasping for straws to figure out what we want to do out there and what we're going to spend money on.
Second.
Okay, so a motion by Solfa, second by Malone. Roll call, please.
Solfa?
Aye.
Barron? Aye. Lehman? Aye. Lohman? Aye. Pieper?
Aye.
Fehrenbach?
Aye.
Anderson?
Aye.
White?
Aye.
Thank you. Baraza?
Aye.
Lancy?
Aye.
Beck?
Aye.
Malay?
Aye.
Malone?
Aye.
Wolf?
Aye.
14 yes, no, none absent.
Okay, that moves on with a positive recommendation to City Council. Up next then would be Resolution 2025-129R, a downtown improvement grant for a rooted home. That would be Community Development. Alderman Beck.
Yes. So this is for one of our current Boardwalk Shop tenants, a rooted home, who is going to be taking over the property at 237 West Wilson Street. Used to be Lisa's Heads or Nails, then Ease Escape, and she moved to the Tomley building, so it became available. So we're excited to see one of our Boardwalk Shops find a new home here in Batavia. She's applied for the Downtown Improvement Grant in an amount of $7,120.13, which is 50% of project costs that include replacing drywall and fixing some lighting, fixing some ceiling, patching some ceiling drywall in order to get it move-in ready for her new location. I had one question for you, Anthony, before I open it up. Could you explain kind of what the rules are for these types of grants, how often a business owner can apply, how often a property can be eligible for such a grant, and those types of specifics?
Sure. Thank you, Alderperson Beck. And Scott can chime in as well. But typically with our TIF grants, we have a 10-year period where if you've exhausted all of the funds for a particular grant, whether it be the facade or the downtown improvement grant, if there's money still available within that 10-year period, you could still apply, but if the monies has been exhausted after the 10-year or during that 10-year period, then that's kind of how we delegate those grant funds. And in this case, we have the funds available for the Downtown Improvement Grant. Hopefully that answers your question.
Any questions about this project or this grant?
I thought we're moving another business from the Boardwalk Shops into a brick and mortar.
Very happy.
Is the applicant here?
Yes. And I did want to just make mention of this, that, you know, this is one of the great opportunities that we have using this particular TIF resource. Michelle, she's been certainly a pleasure to work with. She, like you mentioned, has her location at a Boardwalk Shop currently. But when we first spoke, she said, I want to be in the downtown. I want to be in Batavia. And she appreciated Batavia for so many different reasons. One of the things I can tell you is things that she's trying to do on this paper here that I've outlined in the memo, she's also going to be taking upon herself to do many other things for that property, for that particular space. And obviously, as we know, the historical buildings of Batavia has truly been a challenge to get businesses in and staying. So I want to commend, number one, Michelle for putting a dedication into bringing this building, bringing this space to something beautiful. And I believe that her opportunity of being here in Batavia is going to truly create that ecosystem that we're looking for, and that will contribute to our downtown as far as business and just her whole character. We do have Michelle here who would like to share a little bit of information about her business, what she does, and some of her plans here for 237 West Wilson Street, where she'll be locating. So Michelle, if you'd like to come up.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate being here. And Anthony spoke so succinctly, so I won't take up much of your time, but I have so enjoyed being part of the Boardwalk Shops. I've so enjoyed the welcoming that Batavia has given me. This city is fantastic, and it made us want to stay here. As Anthony said, we are investing some of our own money as well, and time and effort and blood, sweat, and tears. Hopefully not too many tears. But we are really invested in staying in this community. And so this grant is going to help us be able to do that. And what I do, we do home decor and design, we do gifts. I'll be doing some workshops. What I'm really excited about is partnering with other businesses. So we've already started some of those conversations. I have some fabulous neighbors that are really excited to have us next door and can't wait for us to open. So this money will be put to good use. I have 5 kids and I know how to budget very well. And I also want everyone to just feel confident in what our vision is for the space. It is an old building, so it has some quirks and some things that we have to work through, and we are taking that on and excited to do so.
Any questions? Peeper?
Yeah, I was going to say, for those who haven't been to the Boardwalk Shop yet, already you guys have done a phenomenal job just transforming that small space into like a very warm and welcoming area. So I'm excited to see what you do with the full location here. I think it's going to be very nice.
Oh, thank you.
Answer?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for taking the gamble on Batavia and loving it like you do. We're happy to have you and hope your business thrives here. But I as sure many may know, I'm very happy to see a business coming out of the Boardwalk Shops landing here in Batavia. So glad it's yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say basically what Dustin said. If you haven't visited yet your space in the Boardwalk Shop, you really should. The northwest corner of the Boardwalk Shops. And you and your husband did a gorgeous build out with what you had in that space, and you've curated it so well. And so I just feel like it's going to be, I mean, I can't wait to see what you do in a brick and mortar. So
thank you. Thank you so much. I just appreciate all the support and the love, and yeah, we hope we can give that back.
And I'll reiterate what others have said. It's really good when we have that incubator space turn into, the brick and mortar business, and I hope you have a lot of success in there.
And I'll definitely continue to pay it forward. I get a lot of questions because I am on that corner, and I love talking about my experience. I love sharing my experience. I love reading other people on. So we're in it for that as well, and just want to encourage others as well. So thank you. Thank you so much.
His hand up, but.
Bob, did you want to say something?
I was just going to ask when we can look forward to your brick and mortar store opening.
You want to answer? So we are hoping, we were hoping sometime this year. I mean, this is really going to be able to get us moving more quickly. So if I'm being honest, which I always am, probably early next year, but as soon as we can possibly do so. And we know the holiday season is here, and the holidays are coming, so we want to be very realistic and very genuine about that. But as soon as possible, we can't wait. So
I'll make a motion that we approve Resolution 2025-129-R, Downtown Improvement Grant for a Rooted Home.
Second. Our motion by Beck, second by Lehman. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay, you're set to go.
Thank you, Council. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
thank you.
And that'll go to Council with positive recommendation. Right, and then we'll move on to item 8.2, which is ordinance 2025-065, amending the municipal code, adding Title 7, Chapter 8, restricted use of city property.
Let me do that.
Yep.
So ordinance 2025-65 is going to create a new section in the Batavia Municipal Code to restrict city-owned property from being used for civil immigration enforcement purposes. It ensures that federal immigration actions cannot occur on city property without a warrant and proper identification, prohibits use of city data for such enforcement, and directs staff to post signage and report violations. The measure reinforces the city's commitment to transparency, community trust, and safety while maintaining compliance with lawful warrants and criminal enforcement.
Alderman Malone.
Great. So I'll jump in again here. I'm not going to repeat everything I shared last time, but I do believe that this is an important ordinance for our city to pass for a number of reasons. I kind of defined them in three broad categories last time: protecting our safety, protecting the rights of our residents and the rights of the city, as well as promoting human dignity where we can. I think the memo that was available online did a good job of outlining how this aligns with our strategic plan, what we're aiming to achieve here. So I'm not going to go too in depth on those. Just a few reasons why I think this is an important ordinance to pass is that first off, we want to make sure that our town is a place where folks living and working can engage safely. That's our job as the alder people. That's something we need to do here. And when folks can't engage with the civil services that we provide, with the police departments, everyone's a little less safe. And when we don't have clearly defined rules and guidance for law enforcement, everyone's a little less safe as well. We expect our police officers to follow rules, and they do a great job. We have some of the best police officers in the entire country here. I think they show that day and night, and we want to make sure that other law enforcement agencies that come in know what the rules are. Also, this is not about immigration. It's really more about our rights, our safety, and our dignity here. We cannot change the immigration policy. We can't make immigration enforcement change how they behave. We can control our property, though, and that's very clearly allowed. That's something that we can do, and that's something that we should do. The 10th Amendment gives us the right to not help enforce federal law unless it's written in the law, and it's not. So we are allowed to say, hey, you enforce your law, but just don't use our resources, our personnel, and our property. All right. There was some discussion last time around about, doesn't this replicate the Trust Act? My first response to that is, if it does, so what? Okay, it's okay to write things down twice. But second, there are some key areas where this ordinance expands on the Trust Act. First, the Trust Act primarily talks about law enforcement. Here, we're expanding it to city services. We're expanding it to city personnel. We're expanding it to non-law enforcement related parts of our city. And I think that's an important step. It also works in some enforceability mechanisms. We are able to then report activity that we find. We are able to empower our city administrators and our city staff to send that information along to folks who can hold others accountable, who can make sure that when the laws are broken and rights are violated, that there's actions taken, and when they do things right, that is also reported out, right? These are important aspects that we want to make sure we touch on. And finally, what I'll say is that it also makes an important statement. Ordinances and laws are not just the what we will do and what we won't do. It also states what we stand for and who we are. When we make accessibility ordinances, asking to put in ramps for folks who need wheelchairs or are less mobily able, that's making a statement that we want them to be part of our community. Similarly, this ordinance here is making a statement that when law enforcement occurs, it needs to be proper, it needs to be clear, we need to know when and where it's going to occur. With all that said, I am going to make first a motion to amend. I would like to amend the ordinance to add to Section 2, Paragraph 1, Part A. I would like to add the word judicial before the word warrant. I would just like to make it very clear that we're looking for a judicial warrant. So I would like to make that motion now, that we amend the ordinance, Section 2, Paragraph 1, Part A, to add the word judicial before the word warrant.
Second that.
Okay. Where was that again? Which?
Section 2, Paragraph 1, Part A.
Alderman Malone, do you want to put just judicial at the beginning of that, or in the second sentence too, where it also says warrant?
Thank you. Yes, I would like to amend my amend. Yeah, correct. I think in both instances where the word warrant appears, change that to judicial warrant in both instances.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion on that before I call the vote on that. Okay, at this point then we'll I'll vote on the amendment for adding judicial in front of warrant and section 2, item A. Roll call, please.
Malone?
Aye.
Wolf?
No.
Silva? No. Barron?
No.
Lehman?
Aye.
Lohman?
Aye.
Pieper?
Aye.
Fahrenbach?
Aye.
Anderson?
No.
White?
Aye.
Speraza?
Aye.
Lancy?
No.
Beck?
Aye.
Malay?
Aye.
9 yes, 5 no.
That passes. Further discussion on this as it is, Alderman?
So since our discussion last week and getting our first read of this ordinance last Wednesday, I've been really paying attention to what's been going on in our surrounding communities and also in Kane County. I want to thank our neighboring communities that have had the discussions and the debates prior to us regarding what their policy or whether they're going to do a resolution or ordinance. A lot of these conversations have been very thoughtful and empowering during a powerless time, because many of us are sitting here, probably all of us, everybody in the room is feeling very powerless. Today, Kane County passed a resolution, and there'll be further discussion about an ordinance in the upcoming weeks regarding their properties. I know that our neighbors in Aurora are discussing an ordinance, and they'll be looking to pass that on Wednesday, November the 12th. But the one that really stands out is the city of Elgin, who passed a really comprehensive resolution during their COW meeting on November 5th. And the reason why I bring up Aurora and Elgin is these are our neighbors that are actually really fighting the fight right now. They're the ones that are having to live with this on a day-to-day basis. One thing that I asked our state's attorney, Mosier, to be here this evening because she gave a really great presentation, because the one thing that stuck out to me was an ordinance versus a resolution. Many of our neighboring communities have passed resolutions. And so to me, I was like, okay, which one is going to stand out? And Elgin went into great detail and answered a lot of that. And I'd like if State's Attorney Mosier would come up and kind of explain the difference between the two. Because for me, if we're going to pass something, I need something that's going to stick for our neighbors and to protect them and to protect the city. And I think that what we have down right now, I am not comfortable with, and I don't feel like it's going to stick and help our neighbors. So if you could share that information that you shared with Elgin, it'll probably be my third time, but
I can't believe anybody wants to hear me 3 times, let alone once. So what I shared with them, and to start off with the original question, is what's the big difference between an ordinance and a resolution? Well, an ordinance is something that is enforceable. It's something that you have some teeth behind it, whereas a resolution is what the city of Batavia would like to see. And so each municipality that I've looked at so far has looked at it differently to see what they would prefer if they want something enforceable versus saying this is what the city of Batavia stands for. The issue that we're having in every single one of these communities is the actual enforceability of it, because federal law cannot be governed by state law, much in the same way that state law cannot be governed by federal law. It's the supremacy clause of our Constitution. And that's where everybody has been very frustrated in either coming up with a resolution or an ordinance, because it's that ultimate enforceability with it. And so part of what I ended up presenting to the Elgin City Council, which is the reason why I'm here today, is really what our laws say. And I want to just briefly talk about, because I think you all understand, the Trust Act. The Trust Act is state law, and it requires what our local law enforcement can and cannot do. So they cannot enforce federal immigration policies. They cannot detain or continue to detain a person on their immigration detainer or civil immigration warrant. They cannot even investigate or inquire about a person's immigration status. That is Illinois law. They cannot do that. And unless they're presented with a valid criminal warrant, local law enforcement cannot participate, support, or assist in any capacity, give any access to a person to ICE, transfer any person into ICE custody, allow ICE to use their facilities, give access to data, respond to requests for information, or give them anything that wouldn't be readily accessible to the general public. Now, I really want this to be known that that is unless presented with a valid criminal warrant. If a valid criminal warrant is presented to local law enforcement, then local law enforcement can, in fact, turn the individual over to ICE because they're being presented with that warrant. And so that's the big difference between the valid criminal warrant and the civil immigration enforcement that we've been seeing that does not have a warrant that's attached to it. If there's any type of a violation, it's the Attorney General's office that investigates it, and they have a whole civil rights division that discusses this. But what local law enforcement can't do is they cannot obstruct the lawful immigration enforcement by the federal government. And so that's why I've been looking at a lot of these. I'm going to be looking at Kane counties to see what we're going to do, because we cannot put any of our officers in the position of obstructing federal immigration enforcement when it is lawful, and that's with or without a criminal warrant, because even if it's civil, and while we may disagree or people may disagree with it, it's still lawful. Our officers could be arrested for obstruction of a federal law enforcement officer if they're put in the position of stopping it, interfering with it, or doing something of that nature. Now, recently, our Illinois legislature passed Senate Bill 1312. It had 5 different immigration bills within it that is going to further restrict where federal civil enforcement can happen, or even the execution of certain warrants. So, for example, it's going to be 1,000 feet within a courthouse. And so if a person is coming to or from a court proceeding and they're within that 1,000 feet, local law or federal law enforcement cannot execute their civil immigration enforcement through that. There's protections now for hospitals, schools, and daycares as a result of all of that. And so then I'm here, obviously, to talk to you about any of that, to give you, you have wonderful legal counsel who I had the opportunity to speak with today in regards to it. My one caution to you is because of this new legislation, now there is a state remedy for civil action against those who are doing federal civil immigration enforcement, where a person can be sued through state court. Now, the obvious intention of that is if there are federal agents who are violating our state law now, that they could potentially be sued. But what you have to watch out for when creating an ordinance that's enforceable is whether or not we're setting up our local law enforcement, almost telling them to interfere with federal immigration enforcement, setting them up for then either obstructing the police or the federal immigration officers, or setting them up for local civil suits. And so that's the one thing that we've been looking at, and what I'm going to look at in terms of our King County, if we're going to do an ordinance or a resolution, just to make sure that we're not setting our officers up for failure when the intent is to try to stop these immigration practices that go beyond what is allowed in both federal law and then, frankly, what should be happening in state law. So I'm here for any questions that you may have.
To go off of that, I think at one point, one of the questions that was asked of you is, can we stop them from coming on our property?
So you can stop them for certain things. So the staging, because that is basically commandeering or taking over the property that they don't have the authority to be on. And so you can restrict anybody from coming on the property for certain reasons. So for example, if you have protesters can be told to be in a certain area as long as whatever they're protesting, what you're regulating is content neutral. You can do the same thing because they're commandeering your property by setting up for staging. I do not believe that municipalities, though, or even the county could stop people from lawful immigration enforcement. And so that's the difference. You can tell them you can't set up, you can't plan here, but if they're coming in either to execute a warrant or even to do civil immigration enforcement, which is lawful, and I keep saying lawful because that's the first step that you have to have. I don't know that you can regulate that because the supremacy clause would come in to say that we're allowed to do this, you can't regulate our ability to do it. It would be the same thing that I would say for the Batavia police. There's no difference between having a warrant and having probable cause to make an arrest. And if you're going to say that they can't come in without a warrant, well, that would be the same thing as telling the local police officers, well, you have probable cause for an arrest for a person for, let's say, domestic battery. You can't come here to arrest it because you don't have a warrant. So that's the problem that you would have in terms of enforcing what they can and cannot do.
So upon hearing this actually makes me feel much more comfortable with our ordinance as written. It covers all the bases that you've just shared with us. We are not asking our police officers to stop lawful immigration enforcement. I think we've been pretty clear on that. You also highlighted very effectively that what we're doing is we're saying you can't stage on our property. I think we were very clear in our ordinance on that as well. I think the only sort of small area is perhaps the amendment I just made, judicial warrant. We then also add the language or probable cause. Otherwise, I don't see anything here that our ordinance does that you've raised an alarm on. The phrase that I'm hanging on is you opened up with, and what I heard was there, that an ordinance is enforceable, a resolution is not. And enforceability is really what we want, right? I think enforceability is the perk here. It's what we're aiming to get. The Senate Bill 1312, that will be a very nice addition. I'm pleased that the state is taking further action here. Again, there is no harm in having redundancy at the municipal level as well as at the state level. And we also get to direct our own property the way we choose. We are the city of Batavia. The state of Illinois is not the city of Batavia. So we can also limit our parking lots at the utility buildings and so on and so forth. So once again, I thank you. That really helped open my eyes. I think it's similar to what our city attorney had shared with us, that much of our ordinance is very well within sort of the established understanding of both the supremacy clause as well as other aspects. Are you able to kind of explain some of the different types of preemption? I know that one of the primary concerns is our object preemption, right, where we can't sort of stand in the way, right? You can't have your police officers tackle an ICE agent as they're attempting to enforce an immigration warrant. However, that doesn't mean they have to assist. Is that correct?
Well, they cannot assist. Like, even if a warrant is presented and the federal agents take him into custody, there's nothing that our local law enforcement needs to do. But if they're attempting to take somebody in custody and that person is physically resisting, well, that's now a violation of our state law, and it's assisting in terms of federal criminal warrants. So the officers could participate with that. We had a situation in the county where a person had a federal criminal warrant and the deputy assisted in translating the warrant. And that was perfectly allowed under the act because there was a warrant that was a part of it. So the one thing that I would caution that I looked at within section 2 is you correctly put it out that when you say a warrant, and maybe you should add in, I think it has to be a warrant and civil immigration because it's lawful. It's lawful civil immigration enforcement. And so that's the issue that we have, is that if you're telling them now that they cannot do something they lawfully can, I think that may be, now keep in mind, this is for the federal government to come in and to say that it's unconstitutional.
Well, now you had just shared with us, though, that under anti-commandeering, we don't.
Right.
You said only with a criminal warrant.
Well,
now you're saying add civil warrants in there?
It's a difference between commandeering. Yes. So the first part of your ordinance talks about that they can't use it as a staging area to prep to do this. What if a person sees an individual and goes to enforce it? That's a difference between commandeering and executing what they lawfully are able to do under federal law.
Yeah, and help me out here. Where in our, you said section 2 is
section
where?
Section 2. 1A.
1A.
Because it says a warrant shall be presented. My concern is that if they're there to enforce civil immigration, they are able to do that, and that could be, I want you to keep in mind, this is for the federal government to argue, not the county state's attorney. It could be a violation of the supremacy clause because we're telling them they can't enforce their laws.
And has this been tested?
No, not at all.
No, not at all.
No,
Okay. So
but I don't want the city of Batavia or the county of Kane to be the testing part. Wow. What I want is for you to have very true. If you guys want to, Good luck, Roman. So.
Well, that's fine. I mean, we can have the tax money conversation and we can have the rights conversation. And I think it's fair it's fair to have that. I think it's okay for us to be nervous and to be worried about the ones who are on the hook for it as well. But that's not at no cost. Okay. So I've been speaking with a lot of attorneys as well. I work in the legal, so we've met many times, as you know. And there's different opinions out there as well, right? And I think the important thing to keep in mind is that this hasn't been tested. We don't really know. And so we need to ask ourselves, are we willing to kind of step up and see what it's like or not? With a very small, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, very small likelihood that we would be the test case. But yeah, I mean, that's the question we're having. So I kind of went off on a tangent. Thank you so much, by the way.
I could continue on with some of my thought process here. Some of else what makes me nervous in this is we're going to ask people to unmask. And I don't feel like that's something that we can do, because then we are trying to control the federal government where we don't really have control over that. And so there's many parts of this that I'm not comfortable with, because I want to align with our neighbors and what they are doing. An ordinance, if this gets tested and we are found like any part of it is to be out of going against the federal government, then it goes away. So if we put up signs, the signs go down. And I just am not sure that is the right way to go. I think the resolution would be the way to go, because those are parts, yes, it can be tested, but we're not trying to put ourselves where we're trying to hold people accountable when we can't hold people really accountable. For me, it's about the documentation and helping our neighbors that way and getting that information up to the Illinois commission that was created by the state government. And that is part of the State Bill 1312 Act.
It's actually a part of the executive order that the governor put out. Yeah. This creation of the commission.
To where we have documentation. And that's where I see our police officers doing their part. Because if they get a call and they go out, they're not interacting with the federal government or with the federal agents. They're there to do the documentation through their webcams. And then that is what can be saved. And that documentation, if it needs to go either through the state's attorney or up to the state. For me, that is the part that we're going to play and to make our neighbors safer, because we're not going to stop it. We can't stop it. But what we can do is we can help them and provide them that documentation.
I just wanted to make the clarification that it isn't going to be our officers who would go out and do the enforcement under this circumstance. The reports come to my office, and I would be the ones who would approach whatever federal agency has commandeered city property and ask them to leave. And then
but what if we're getting multiple calls at multiple times, Laura? I mean, we have to think of the practicality of this and who's going to be out there taking the calls. It's the calls are going to come in through 911, and respectfully, as a city administrator, I don't want to put that on you. That you should be the one that's collecting the data and then deciding on where it goes, but not the one actually going out there and collecting the data. We've got our police officers that have webcams that can easily videotape anything that could be going on. And that could be asking them, do you have a criminal warrant, criminal immigration warrant? And that is where you're getting that data to build that case to support that.
The problem with that is that the areas of this whole situation that are fraught with peril are the interactions between our police force and federal law enforcement, that there are these nuances where making a mistake in that regard is going to be the violation of the Supremacy Clause, so that's why having it be done through an administrative agency removes that possibility. And we don't have that much city property available. I don't think that there will be staging in multiple areas. Also, we are adjacent to federal, how many acres at Fermilab? that would seem to offer a much easier place for an operation to be staged.
But now that the state has added daycares and schools and courthouses to that, you could get a call of somebody saying, or the police could get a call saying, hey, we've got federal agents here. Is that then when we get a call on 911 to where they call you and say, hey, Laura, now you got to go out to the school and collect that documentation, that data?
I'm not aware that is the Bevins Act require local law enforcement to enforce that law against the federal government? It's a state law. I would think it would be a state police matter.
So it is a state law, but a lot of it talks about documentation too. I see situations where our local law enforcement will come out to be able to, at a minimum, provide that documentation. I mean, the creation of this was supposed to obviously limit the federal immigration enforcement, but the remedy for it is a civil lawsuit. But you're going to get 911 calls and the police are going to respond to it.
I just, hold on a second, Kev. I would like to make a statement here. And what you and Alderman Barron were just talking about, in our ordinance, it says that our city employees will be the one to initiate that. And I'm not sure that I feel comfortable asking a city employee to step into the middle of that and say, okay, Mr. Federal Agent, you have to wait here because I have to call my city administrator so that they can come out here and tell you why you can't come on our property and show you this piece of paper so that that can happen. I think every step that we've taken here is with very good intention. But in listening to what I watched on your, comments up at Elgin and what I have constantly been reading is, I think at this point we need to rely on the Trust Act, which takes care of 2 of the 3 bullet points that we have here in what we want to have as an ordinance. And the only thing that's different is the removal of the face mask and showing a badge, which if it was the FBI coming in to investigate a crime, we would never ask them to take their mask off. If we had somebody undercover trying to initiate a stop, other than having the police on their back, they don't have their badge out until they're asked for it. So, I mean, I don't agree with the way it's happening right now in almost every place I've seen it in the news or that I'm aware of. But I think we have to be really careful how we move this forward. And if the state has just put out another law, I think we need to review that and see how much of that takes care of what we want to have here before we start to duplicate, replicate, or anything else, because I don't feel comfortable telling our rank and file employees that if somebody shows up at Public Works, they have to be the one to go out and confront them and then tell.
That's
not what it says.
They don't confront. I'm
just
the only
tell
one
them
who
what.
confronts.
Yeah. Okay, then how do we stop them on the property? They're already on the property then by the time you get there.
When I'll give the example of Broadview, right? So they went there, they said, take the fence down. They didn't take the fence down. And so they worked with their city attorney to file an action in federal court. And the result was the federal court siding with the city, and the ICE took the fence down.
And they were on private property though. Correct?
It was blocking roads.
Well,
was
yeah,
my
the street
understanding.
was public property. Okay. We'll go to Alderman Fehrenbach.
Thank you for showing up.
Yes.
Thank you for being here. The one thing I'm taking away from this is that there's still stuff in motion. We're still figuring this out. This is all new. It's all new ground. It's a statement of 2025 that the lowest people on the political totem pole have to address this issue, right? But the point is, everyone's still figuring it out. Right. The one thing. So when we first had this conversation, we didn't have an ordinance in front of us. Okay. And then we got the ordinance, and it's a very short ordinance. For what it is, it's a pretty short ordinance. We've had bigger ordinances over much more trivial stuff, right? And one thing that I think gets lost in translation when we talk about what this covers, it just covers city property. It doesn't cover the parks, doesn't cover the schools, doesn't cover the library. It doesn't cover Fermilab, which is 6,800 acres right next to us. More importantly, that area right behind Giersgaard Barbershop. City doesn't own that whole, acre and a half of parking lot. City doesn't own that either, right? So they can set up all they want right in the middle of downtown. So my ask would be, if you wouldn't have shown up, by chance, when I saw you sit down, my heart skipped a beat. I'm like, cool, I know what she's got. And to be fair, it's been a crazy week in Batavia, so I didn't know why you were here.
In all fairness, I caused PTSD in a lot of people in the city.
So I would like to propose that, if we have to wait for stuff to shake out, let's let it shake out, and then we can come back and see what's the best approach.
That's kind of what I feel, because I feel like that if this is just changed into state law and we can apply that to the properties we have here and it's statewide, so everybody has the same thing, that makes a lot more sense.
And maybe it'll cover the lot library, maybe it'll cover the schools, maybe it'll cover all this stuff.
And then every district that is in the state wouldn't have to do this.
So this goes back to when I was originally talking about when this all came up, and I wasn't received well, but the Illinois Trust Act is in place and we follow the Illinois Trust Act. I understand concerns about Batavia making a statement. We've been talking about our neighbors to the north and south. I would look at the St. Charles website, City of St. Charles. They have a very nice statement about what the City of St. Charles follows. I mean, I'm just going to read you a paragraph because I think this kind of covers a lot of stuff. It says, Federal Immigration Operations and Illinois Trust Act, information for residents. In the first headline, our commitment to the community. We have received numerous inquiries from the St. Charles community about reports of federal immigration operations in the Chicago area. First and foremost, the safety and security of our residents is our top priority. We are committed to working together with residents, community groups, and partners to ensure that everyone feels safe, supported, and heard in St. Charles. And it goes on for the St. Charles Police Department policy. The St. Charles Police Department fully complies with the Illinois Trust Act, which limits cooperation between local law enforcement and federal immigration authorities and prohibits local police from detaining individuals based on immigration holds or ICE detainers without a judicial warrant, aiming to protect immigrant communities and uphold due process. It says our officers do not conduct immigration-related investigations. Our officers do not participate in immigration-related arrests. The police department does not receive advance notice of federal immigration operations. We remain focused on protecting all residents and providing services equally to everyone, regardless of immigration status. And then it goes on and lists key Trust Act immigration-related facts. The Act prevents local officers from inquiring about an individual's immigration status during routine interactions such as traffic stops. No person will be denied police services or any other benefit based on their immigration status. The local police will not stop, search, or arrest any person on their perceived immigration status. No witness, victim, or other person reporting a crime will be questioned regarding their immigration status. The police will not proactively notify ICE of the arrest of an undocumented person absent a federal criminal warrant or a federal judicial determination of probable cause. If you have any questions or concerns, please contact the police department. That's an outline of what I think we can put on the website, which is where people actually would probably go, and in this day and age, you're going to go to the City of Batavia website to look for something. We can have that as a marked page up at the top of the website. I'm sure it's easy to put like a little flag where you can click on it. And you can add in additional things about specific citations to the Trust Act like I was reading from before, so that everything will be laid out exactly with what we are complying with as the City of Batavia, yet also focusing on the commitment to the community and what the police department's allowed to do, not allowed to do. And I think that covers everything that needs to be covered at this point in time. And, just as Alderman Fehrenbach just was talking about, maybe we'll let everything shake out a little bit, see what goes on with these state laws. And I think that Ms. Moser would agree that this is a safe option that sets forth exactly what the city complies with, would be fully within the law, and it acts as a good resource for residents to know what's going on.
That's correct.
So my proposal would be that we table this particular ordinance, and we have the city draft up something similar to what St. Charles did, which I think is very nicely done and really it provides a lot of good information. And we can even expand on it to even include some more Trust Act facts, and put that as a flagged page on our website so that the citizens of Batavia can see exactly what our position is in terms of what we must follow and what we're doing in terms of upholding due process and everything that the Trust Act allows. So I'm making a motion to table the ordinance, and we have a statement put onto the Batavia website similar to what St. Charles has.
Second. We have a second? Okay. Okay. Excuse me, we are having a discussion within the council. When we are done with that, we will take public comment. I do have a sheet here with names on it, so let us finish our discussion. And if you make an outburst, you will be asked to leave the room. And if I have to, we'll clear that room so that we can have our discussion. Alderman Lehman?
Can I comment on this before we vote on tabling? Yeah?
A debate stage and
we can discuss it.
Okay. So as Kevin kind of opened up earlier with the current draft ordinance, I don't see anything in there. I just see a little bit of an expansion of the Trust Act, and I don't see anything in there that is overly concerning for the city. I think some primary differences, the Trust Act applies to law enforcement agencies only, and our ordinance opens it up to, expands it to city departments and property, and I think that's important. And, you know, we had at the October 28th meeting, we heard from many from our Batavia community, people who all stated that they lived in our wards. These are community members, and they shared their stories, their family stories, personal stories of their friends, coworkers, neighbors, and students. And I just want to reflect again, as we're having this discussion, that as elected officials, it's important for us to listen to these voices in our community. And sometimes their stories and their experiences differ from our own, which is why it's so important to listen to them and listen to their experiences. As Alderperson Barron mentioned, that there have been a lot of surrounding communities that have recently passed ordinances and resolutions, both. And some of those resolutions have added on to ordinances that they already have in place. I'm not going to even pretend that I've had an opportunity to look into and read all the recent things that have happened in all the other communities. But if I understand correctly, Evanston already has a welcoming ordinance that they had in place that already outlawed the use of city facilities by immigration agents. And their recent resolution just built on that ordinance that they already had in place. So there has been a lot of neighboring communities that have used their legal counsel, and they have moved forward with some of these ordinances, even before current the past months. We, as a council and as a city, we need to be just as concerned for our residents as we are for our city employees. I'm hearing a lot today about talking about our city staff, but we need to remember we're here representing our community, our residents, our constituents. That's what we are discussing today. So in my mind, this ordinance builds on and expands the principles of the Illinois Trust Act, again, to all of our city operations. And it reinforces that we are looking for transparency, accountability, and community trust. And I know that sometimes it's important to have action, even when it feels futile and or when we have questions or we don't know how it's going to play out. But that's been the history of Batavia, and I hope that's going to be our future also.
Anderson?
So I guess I still have a question on how enforceable this is. Last week, that was one of my big things before we could read the ordinance, is it needs to be impactful and enforceable. So Laura, can you talk me through what happens if once you get a phone call? Like, what are you going to do?
Let's say that they are in the west parking lot and they seem to be setting up and organizing for going out and doing something. I mean, that is our parking lot being commandeered for preparations for an operation. And so I would go out, ask who is in charge of there, ask what their purpose was in being there, and then let them know if we have an ordinance, then that's something that's enforceable. What the state's attorney was saying is a resolution does not give me anything that's enforceable. It's more like a policy statement, like this is what we would like to see. So if we want to have any type of enforcement mechanism, then we would need to go with an ordinance. However, that's going to be the thing that once you conduct that enforcement is potentially going to lead to that being challenged. So you're less likely to have a challenge if you have a resolution, but the resolution doesn't have the same teeth that an ordinance has. So let's say I go out and I say, please leave, because we have this ordinance that prohibits you from being here. Then they say, no. Then I make a call to the city attorney to say, what are our options here? And one of those could be judicial, to file an action to ask them to be removed.
So what if they respond with, we're doing civil immigration enforcement?
Even if they're doing civil immigration enforcement, they still don't have a right to commandeer our property. So I believe that when the state's attorney was talking about they have a right to do civil immigration enforcement, that would mean that they're stopping a person and they're saying, we now have the right to detain you. That's different than saying, okay, all 12 of our officers in this area, I want you to drive to the city of Batavia's government center. We're going to set up in the west parking lot, and we're going to talk about how we're going to go out and do these enforcement actions. So that's the difference.
So then, just playing this out, we go file some injunction. Who's enforcing that?
Federal government, we'd have to pursue it in the federal court, because that's who has jurisdiction over them. I would think.
I think you'd have to start in the state court.
Start at a state court?
Yes. And what happens from there, I don't practice federal law for a very good reason. But the worry that we always have is that when you're doing something against the federal government on the state level, there are statutes that say that they can come in and ask to remove it to federal court. And then when it gets removed to federal court, the likelihood of that continuing is not great.
Right.
So we would be the ones funding this, correct? Okay. So I would think I would echo Alderman Sofa's comments. This is something that we need to kind of hang tight and see what happens. There's so many questions about this. To put it into an ordinance, to me, it's we don't even know what the next steps are, because no one's tested it, and I don't think Batavia should be the one testing it. We don't have the money to do it. At this point, how much money have we taken over the past 5 years in federal funding? Like millions of dollars. We're going to be putting that at risk too for something that we don't even know if we can enforce. So.
Just a little concerned about saying that we can't enforce a resolution, because we could tell them we have a resolution that states you can't be on our property. And if they're like, no, we're not going to get off, then they're commandeering on our property, and we should be able to have some sort of action that we can take, because we have stated this is our property. And if we have signs up that say, and that's what Elgin did, and kudos to them, they put a QR code where it translates into other languages. I think we still have the ability to, do a little bit of enforcement with a resolution through this. But it's not as hard and harsh as a ordinance where.
Since Elgin resides in Kane County, what's your thought on that?
So I was at the Elgin meeting because while I review these things, I can't give legal advice to the individual departments. But one of the things that they asked me about is if I felt like it was unconstitutional, and I felt like it was constitutional. I did not think they violated the supremacy clause. I think they were enforcing the non-commandeering, because we're able to do that, and that's something that they can't interfere with our supremacy portion of that. I think what Elgin wrote was enforceable. I think it could lead towards a potential actual suit that could be successful if the federal government chooses to violate it.
Alderman Malay.
Yes, I'm not in favor of tabling this. I think this is a urgent situation. I think this is, quite frankly, a hair on fire moment for our society. Let's be real. An ordinance is a law. It's something that we say is unacceptable, cannot happen here. A resolution is a desire. I think we need to go with a law that says we are not accepting that. Now, I know there's an administration right now that's led by a convicted criminal. It's 33 counts, the felonies convicted. They let out 1,500 violent offenders that we saw with our own eyes. We need to have laws that say we don't accept unlawful behavior in Batavia. And to put out a resolution and say, we don't desire that, or we have a desire that you not do this here, is a whole lot different than us taking a position and saying, this is illegal in Batavia, according to our laws here in Batavia.
Respectfully, I'd love to follow what our neighbors in Elgin are fighting on a day-to-day basis.
But I wasn't finished yet, Alderwoman Barron. So going with an ordinance, we heard loud and clear from our constituents that they want something done about this. Now, yes, there's questions about whether we can enforce it. When we have an ordinance in place that requires certain actions to happen, we're going on record. We're pushing, we're making sure that we're watching, that eventually those that continue to violate our laws will be held accountable. It might not happen today, but if we just sit back and say, well, we can't pass laws because we're scared of it might cost us some money or something, or that's not acceptable. That's, we have fellow citizens whose constitutional rights are being violated. We have fellow residents who are doing it the right way that are being detained. That's not acceptable. And it's happening because people are standing back and letting it happen. For me, I will not stand back and watch this happen. I will not stand back and watch the lawlessness happen and us be scared to do something about it. So I am not in favor of tabling this. I think we should move forward with an ordinance. I like the ordinance as written. I think possibly adding the civil portion to the warrant, lawful
civil immigration enforcement. You're welcome.
So I would like to amend the ordinance to include that along with judicial warrant.
Well, we first have a motion pending. We're discussing that before we move further. So, Alderman Braza, did you want to say something?
Okay, and I know we've gone over this a bunch of times here, but I'm really struggling to get a sense of clarity on this, the difference between the resolution and the ordinance, because the way
a little closer to the mic.
The way the Elgin resolution is written, it does appear to be described as though there are enforcement aspects of it, with ICE being on city property and with them being able to then pursue that in a court if it was on their property. Is that?
That's correct. And they also do have a provision of it where law enforcement will be there just to be recording with body cameras, because that's the best evidence that they have out there. But ultimately, the enforcement would go through their city administrator also to either report it to the Accountability Act or potentially file a civil action against the federal immigration enforcement. So there is an enforcement.
That's not a desire. Those are actionable steps that they can absolutely take under the law in the court system, and they have officers recording events as they're happening.
Right.
Okay.
Alderman Malone.
So it's the same as an ordinance then?
So it's such a nuance.
So have it in ordinance.
Correct. When you have a nuance that sometimes police enforce, that's a lot different. So when you have a DUI ordinance out here, our police can come and arrest. What you're doing with this ordinance is you're having the city administrator basically enforce it, which is going to go towards the same piece of that. It's how you actually, and what's the content of an ordinance and a resolution. In my opinion, what Elgin is doing would be just as enforceable if you put in an ordinance, frankly. So to me, didn't see an issue between the resolution and the ordinance.
Thank you. So I think we're quibbling over whether it's an ordinance or a resolution. We have it drafted as an ordinance, and so therefore let's move forward with it as an ordinance. I think that was pretty clear here. You know, the arguments for tabling today appear to be, it might cost us some money. Things are up in the air, and we should wait to see how it all falls out. And there could be some risk here, right? Enforcement-wise, what we do is we sue them, right? Like that's what all this says. We're going to collect data, we're going to go to court, and we're going to sue them. That's the enforcement mechanism, right? I want to be very clear to anybody watching at home, everybody in the audience, if ICE stages in our parking lot, our ordinance doesn't say that Chief Blowers should show up with his dudes and make them go away, right? I'm sorry, that's just not how it's going to work. They're going to do what they do because that's how force and enforcement work. What it does do is it opens the door for us to hold them accountable. We can then say, we had this ordinance, your responsibility is to know local law, and you ignored local law. We are now going to pursue you through the courts to make sure you follow local law. How you can be against that, I don't know. I'm sure we'll hear, right? Now, it could cost money to do that, but guess what? We spend money to enforce all sorts of things. And if we aren't willing to spend money to enforce the safety and rights of our citizens, what are we going to spend money on? We're also protecting the city's rights. In order for our rights to have weight as a city, as a unit of government, we have to enforce them. Okay, and that's going to take some cash and that's going to take some time. I think the odds of that are pretty low. I don't think ICE is going to target us. I don't think they're going to show up. But I'll concede the point that we may have to, but that's what you have to do sometimes. Sometimes you have to do that, right? And the last thing I'm going to say is that, an exact quote I heard was, we should go with the safe option. There's nothing safe about this, right? I get it. It makes us squirmy. It makes it hard. It's not something that's going to be easy for us to do. And we are asking a lot of our city staff and our city employees. But I know them to be people of integrity. I know them to be people who can do this. We can walk and chew gum at the same time. And when we find ourselves in this situation, I trust that our city staff can handle this, document what happens, report it to our city administrator, who will then take the appropriate legal action after the guys with guns have gone away. All right. Now, the last thing I'm going to say on the current motion at hand, let's not table it. Let's vote up. Let's vote down. If we vote no, we can just bring it back up. That's the same as tabling it. If we vote yes, then we can have it passed. So I think for the tabling motion, that should be a very clear no. Instead, if you want to wait, vote on the actual ordinance itself. Don't table it. Don't push it off. Vote on it today.
Lancy?
Yeah, so I think we made it very clear our only enforceability here is lawsuits, correct? What results from a lawsuit? What's going to result from that lawsuit? Money?
A court order, which then the federal government can either appeal.
It's a long, drawn-out process with very unclear end. And I think everyone who's been through any type of court proceedings can understand the complexity that could go into. And that is a rabbit hole that the city of Batavia does not want to go down. We are not protecting anyone by doing this. If anything, we are creating a false sense of security as we put a giant spotlight on us with the federal government. To me, it is just mind-boggling. Like this is a virtue signal pat on the back that everyone has admitted. Unenforceable, unimpactful. Yes, I understand there's a ton of emotion around this topic. We're not the right dais to discuss it. We're not the right place to enforce it. It's unfortunate. We need to there's other things in our political system that drive this. There seems to be no teeth anywhere, even if we go down the path. And let's be honest, let's call the rest of all the counties that did this, the city of Chicago. You would be seeing the city of Chicago do anything they possibly could right now to get in the way of ICE short of obstruction. And I'm sure they're doing it. You know what they're not, what you're not seeing? Anyone being any quote unquote happier or feeling any safer. It's not happening. Why? Because they're sitting back, knowing exactly what the Supremacy Clause says and going, well, we go down this path. We're not sure where this ends, and we might not win this. And what happens then? Yeah, you start yes, it does have to do with money. We look at the pocketbook, we go, we don't have the money to go fight this. This fight has to be had elsewhere. So I urge everyone to understand that we're not creating safety. We are responding to an emotional response to federal immigration law and enforcement of that law. Let's not forget, there are laws in the books. There is an agency charged with that, and they are out doing that. Now, whether you want to agree with the administration or not on the federal level and how they're doing it and how that goes, but that's a political discussion that I don't want to have at this table. We have large topics of discussion to happen about intimately the city of Batavia. I don't even believe our illegal immigrant population is very high here. I would say that the criminal illegal population here is a lot lower than that. So if what we are protecting against is people who are scared because they're watching certain news outlets or seeing things on TV, let's all call a spade a spade. The media is brutal right now on any side of any aisle of whatever you're looking at. It is not a good place to go get information. Data is a good place to go and get information. I've heard very little data across the whole topic of discussion, and much more of we need to do this because we had 37 constituents show up and tell us we had to do it. We need to think as the leaders of this community what this does ultimately. What do we do for these people ultimately? Yes, we're here to create safety and ensure that safety. In this scenario, we don't come to play here. We don't have a leg to stand on in this fight. If we're going to do anything, a resolution is one thing. I think you put an ordinance on the books, you open up a bad potential. And I don't think we need to be this catalyst, okay? For those that want to say, we can be the agent of change or whatever, you already got Evanston, you already got the Lake County, you already got other counties, you got the city of Chicago. These are much larger entities that are the tip of the spear that we can watch how this plays out live, right? And we're not seeing the people who have passed certain things like this have any favorable effect. I mean, truly. And if it's in someone's emotions that it does have an effect, okay, that's okay. But we're not here to create emotional stability for people. That's not what we're here to do. So I just want everyone to stay on track. If we do want to make people feel safe and be safe, we do things that actually do that. We don't virtue signal and create these basically pie in the sky things that we're going to do the same exact thing if we pass an ordinance or a resolution that we would do on any other day, because we do have top-notch people on our city staff and our city does care about our residents. There would be legal action taken, I'm sure, if we could and there was oversteppment of any law that we could utilize our laws. So I'll leave it at that, but I do truly think it creates a false sense of security, if anything. It's a giant spotlight.
Thank you for coming again. So, next time we have a situation, we invite her first. Okay. I think we should do something. What I need to know is the other stuff that's in flight. When is that going to get so we talked about the proposal at the state level. When is that conversation wrapping up? When are things happening there?
So it's passed the House and the Senate. I don't know when it's going to be signed by the governor. I do know that there's somebody in this room who's much more knowledgeable about that than I am. State Representative Hernandez, she may have a better idea of when it's going to be signed by the governor.
You want to speak?
Jamie, real quick.
Yes.
Is that 1312 you said was the bill?
13. House bill.
Yeah,
House bill.
It's a House bill. 12. I can send everybody something about that tomorrow.
That would be great, so that we have that to see
House
what that
bill,
is.
yes, House Bill 1312. Thank you.
Of course. Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Barbara Hernandez. I'm the state representative in the 50th district. I cover areas of Aurora, North Aurora, and Batavia, some parts of Batavia at least. But to answer that question, we are not sure yet. We have been still talking with the governor to see when exactly he's going to be doing the bill signing. But it will be a public matter, hopefully by the end of this month, we hope.
It's, he has 60 days to sign, and if not, it automatically becomes law at the end of 60 days, even if he hasn't signed, I think.
Correct.
Just before Alderperson Lohman goes, just to go to Alderperson Lancy, what you said, where this doesn't do anything. I think with the passing of the law, and we're just waiting for the governor to sign it, the one thing that it has created that I think is so important for our immigrant community, and not just today, but like even years down the road where something like this may come up, is it does have that commission on where evidence can be sent for potential lawsuits. Because of the heinous ways that people are being treated and dragged out of their cars, and some of the brutality that's going on. So looking at some of that's going in there, and that's where I would love to have, our ordinance or, resolution where it addresses that, where it talks about that. So it's part of that, just saying, hey, we recognize that this is something that we do to help you, for potential lawsuits in the future. I will say respectfully, the way that the current ordinance is written, I'm not comfortable with. I don't feel that it is enough focus on our immigrant community. I think it's too focused on the city of Batavia. And so if anything, I would want to pause and redo the ordinance, if we go with an ordinance or a resolution, to really make it more focused on who this is really about. Keep some of the elements about the city in there, but really put the main focus. The first thing is talking about the Trust Act in the city of Batavia. I want to talk about our immigrant community, how they've built our community, why they're so important, and the businesses in here. So I would just want to change some of the framing of that to move forward.
Person Lohman.
So I don't want to repeat everything that has been said from the October 28th meeting and some of the comments that are in support of this ordinance tonight. I do not support tabling this issue. I agree with Alderperson Lohman that if you want to table it, then let's just vote on the ordinance and you can decide on record which way you're going to go. I think this issue is front and center, as we have seen and we've mentioned for a very long time in this meeting and the other meeting. And during the Know Your Rights meeting. This, as you see, so many communities are having trainings for their residents. There are people that are organizations that are pulling together the resources to come up with ways on how we can help our community, whether it's whistles, whether it's the food pantries that Jen mentioned before, that are pooling their resources to deliver these items to folks that are afraid to come out. I mean, the fear is there. That's real. I don't think anyone is going to disagree with me on that. So we have heard from our community loud and clear. An overwhelmingly amount of people are in support of this. I want to remind everybody that we were elected to be representative of our community. So when I hear some of us here that are speaking about, we can't make this decision, we're not ready, let's table it, we're afraid, there's a fear here at council that we're afraid to pass this. This is why we were elected. We were elected to make tough decisions. This is a tough decision that we need to make a decision on. So, like I said, I printed out all the names, 760 signatures on that letter that was a part of a petition. And what that means is 760 people from our community, business owners, residents, people that moved away, that were part of this community or came back. These people, community leaders, they want us to take action. And that action looks like this ordinance that we have in front of us. We, as the mayor spoke the last meeting, we pride ourselves
and Batavia always helping and having each other's backs. This is an opportunity for us to continue doing what Batavia has always done. We received over 30 emails that are in support for this ordinance. I have received some that opposed it, a handful. Maybe some of you have received more. I've only received a handful. When I say handful, 5 or 6. There were 39 speakers that were in support of this at the last meeting. 2 were not. You're seeing the data. A lot of us talk about data here. The numbers are pointing in the community, telling us loud and clear that they want us to pass this. Take action. We have a room full. We had a room full before. I don't know how much more the community needs to do for us to listen. Alderperson Lehman was talking about that. We need to listen. That is our jobs. That's why we are in our roles, literally. We talk about you're not hearing it from the community. Some of you aren't sure what they want us to do. Let me tell you, I am that community. I am in the community every day in the schools, every day in shops, every day when I'm teaching, every day in my job. I hear the community, and I can honestly tell you, I have not heard anybody that identifies as Mexican or looks like me tell me that they don't want me to support this. Perhaps some of you have. I think Alderperson Barron, maybe you said that you spoke to 2 people. I don't know. But I heard some people tell me that they have spoken to people in the community that identify in this population that are not in support of it. I have not heard it. I'm not saying that it doesn't exist. I'm just telling you that me, as Alderperson Lohman, has not heard from anybody in that community that is not against this. They are all loudly telling me that they want this to pass. Some facts that I want to share with you. Our city attorney was comfortable with this language, as we received in that memo from Laura, and stated that we are well within our right as a city to take this step. And Laura has also confirmed that as well in those emails with questions that I asked her. Another fact, our community is living in fear and hurting. We had educators speak to us last time to this point. Students in class are afraid for their friends, their neighbors, their family. Attendance has dropped because of the fear to be out and living their lives and studying. We had mental health professionals speak to this last time. The fear is real. Being in that constant state of fear will make us sick. I have been sick to my stomach. Each of these meetings that I have to come and prepare and be ready to speak about this, it makes me sick that it's hard for some of us to understand that this is important, that this is action, that there is teeth behind it. We need to choose the right thing to do here. Numerous cities and counties have passed similar legislation. This perceived threat that we're going to be the test city, we haven't seen it. State Attorney Moser also attested to this. We have not seen that. Human dignity. That is an everyone issue. So when we speak about rights, and Alderperson Lancy, you said that you don't want to make this political. This is not political. We're talking about our human rights, the rights of our residents, the rights of the city. We are well within our right to pass this. And, the last thing I'll say, you say emotions are high. If you can wake up every morning and brush your teeth and get dressed without worrying about this, That's privilege.
Really?
And
Point of order, be quiet.
You too.
And are you, for anyone to say that nobody's hurting and that it doesn't affect our community is false. So I will support this ordinance, and I hope that the majority of you do as well.
Is there,
Alderman White?
is there anything else they need from me? It's a school night.
Yeah, I understand.
Good to go.
So
Thank you for
I'm more
coming
than
in.
willing to answer any other
Yep.
questions.
Thank you
but,
so much.
You're very welcome. Good luck to
Appreciate it.
everyone.
We appreciate you.
Alderman White, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in. Apologies for not being there. Wanted to chime in and say I'd like to make the emotional decision, and I think our community really deserves that. But I also want to make the smart decision. If Elgin has a better proposal on the table, if there's another state level thing on the table, I will be a no vote tonight because I think we want to make the smart decision. I want to support our constituents, but I want to make a smart decision. If we're going to put something on the books, I want to make sure it's well thought through.
Thank you.
One last statement from me, and that there's been a lot of talk about emotions and feeling safe and not feeling safe in your house. This is not just as Alderman White just said, this is not something that's supposed to be emotional. We're just looking at the proposed ordinance basically is, doesn't have anything to do with anybody's houses. It has to do with city-owned property. So in terms of what we're voting on, you got to take the emotion out. We're not talking about whether you like the current president, don't like the current president. It has nothing to do with anything with what we're looking at right here. And I don't know why that's constantly brought up. This does not have to do anything with that. So again, I feel that at this point in time, I like the way St. Charles did it. I'm open to discussing the way Elgin did it, but I think that this should be tabled for now, and we revisit it with one of those other options.
We have that question out right now with a motion and a second. Do you want to call a question and vote on that?
Yeah.
We're not going to have public comment?
What?
We're not going to have public comment?
On the motion to table.
Which decides if we're going to, which decides if we're going to have a vote tonight, so feels relevant.
I make a motion to table.
Is there further discussion?
And what?
Is there further discussion?
We had further discussion after that. Everything that's happened since he made the motion.
I had my hand up. I had other discussion.
You had discussion after he made the motion.
Yeah, and other people spoke twice.
Okay, would you like to speak again then?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up, if we pass an ordinance tonight, we can follow it with a resolution also. I hear what you're saying, Jen, that the resolution can incorporate more and identify more of our citizens that are hurting. I would appreciate that. They're not mutually exclusive. But again, an ordinance says, this is not acceptable in Batavia. Yes, we're going to have challenge enforcing it, but we put our foot down and say, no, we're not going that way. We demand that we live under law and order. And that's our job, is to make sure we have laws in place to make sure law and order is maintained.
I just want to say I think it would be very un-Batavia of us if we did not allow public comment before this vote.
I agree with that.
Okay. We'll go through the list that I have, and we'll do 3 minutes apiece.
Can we ask if other individuals that wanted to speak be added, because some people came in after the sheet was taken?
You got another sheet? So if there's anybody else that wants to speak, we'll cut it off at the end of that page, or else we'll be here all night.
It's okay.
All right.
This is why we're here.
First on the list tonight is John Dryden.
When I raise my hand, it'll be 10 seconds left on 3 minutes.
I promise I'll be short. I wrote down some remarks. I do have to say, though, I did not expect to be confronted with the wall of rank cowardice I witnessed tonight. It is unfortunate that we must consider a city ordinance that attempts to better protect our community from the lawless behavior of unaccountable federal agents, but we are here because it is necessary. We are aware that there are those who argue the mass detentions and deportations of our non-citizen community members will make America great again. We are aware that the defenders of these gross violations of our civil liberties argue that only criminals and degenerates are targeted by ICE and Border Control for detention and deportation. But we know that these arguments are demonstrably false. We know that Homeland Security has asked the Supreme Court for the right to racially profile those they wish to detain. We know the court has granted them permission to do so. That is what probable cause for ICE looks like. This means that any one of our community members who is not immediately recognizable as white, like us, is at risk of detention and deportation because of the color of their skin or the origin of their surname. This is not something you or I will experience. It is experienced by non-white people. We know these arguments are false because of the practice of federal agents detaining people at their immigration court hearings. These are people who have complied with our laws and reside here legally, and yet they are detained and deported because they are not white, to fill a quota, to fill a body count. We have been dismayed by the lawlessness of these federal agents. We have watched them instigate violence and chaos in Northern Illinois as they pursue their goal of ethnic cleansing. We have watched them shred the Bill of Rights while they chase their fevered dream of white supremacy. And we should help them, make us less free. We should assist them in dividing and destroying our community. What American who loves liberty would agree to that? So we do the obvious thing, the necessary thing. We pass an ordinance that prohibits our community property from being used by federal agents to terrorize our community. We ask federal agents to identify themselves on our community property so that they are accountable for their actions. We stand up for our own sovereignty. We stand up for the whole community, citizens and immigrants alike. This ordinance is the least we can do. It requires but a teaspoon of courage. Thank you.
Up next will be Dick Deleen. Sorry if I get names wrong. You sure can.
The first speaker, I go to bed at 8, so I'll be quick here. My name's Dick Deleen. I'm a Ward 1 resident, 6 years, and quick happy Veterans Day to everyone, especially any veterans that served out there. So thank you guys, appreciate it. Here regarding the Batavia discussion regarding civil immigration enforcement, I've reached out on the official city website to my Ward 1 Alderman, Jennifer Barron. I've gotten no response on multiple times and multiple issues, including the displaying of the flag that represents the physical mutilation and chemical castration of young children. No response from you. Alderman Barron, in your March interview, in the patch, you listed your #1 issues, community engagement, community needs and preferences, and actively listening with concerns and feedback. You mentioned tonight powerless. That's what it feels like when you reach out to your alderman and you get no reply. It was also sad to see most of you applaud the other day, someone wearing a t-shirt that read Chinga La Negra. That was a pathetic showing from our alderman. I might have said it wrong, but that's how I read it. So tonight I'm a hard no on any civil immigration ordinance, as it is a massive waste of time. Seriously, they're just going to go across the street to Fermilab, across from your house. It's easy. They're not dumb. Maybe focus on saving taxpayer money. The 6th Ward Alderman, you should run for mayor, seriously. You're the only one who made any sense tonight. You talked about virtue signaling, and our alderman over here, Alderman in Ward 1, wants to create a big, huge line. That's a quote. That doesn't even make any sense. And Mayor Schilke, you've been here since 1981, 11 terms, you're on your 12th terms. Why didn't you pull this in 93 to 2000? They deported 12.2 million people. In 2009 and 2016, they deported 5.3 million. Why didn't you guys bring it up then? I don't understand this. And here's a few arrests since Operation Midway Blitz, by the way. Sexual abuse of a minor, we don't want them around. Sexual assault against a 15-year-old child, see ya. Rape, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, conspiracy to transport illegal aliens. One individual had a charge of sexual assault of a minor plus multiple DUIs and a child fondling charge in this area. We don't want them around here. 42-year-old Somalian who had convictions for multiple assaults, multiple DUIs, larcenies, and rape. 21-year-old Venezuela gang member with aggravated assault with a firearm. And a 33-year-old Colombian man charged with aggravated domestic battery and DUI. We don't want them around. We don't need those people around. Put me in the no column. And also, we had the city administrator. You guys are going to leave it in her hands. She didn't even know who to talk to. She was going to go to the federal government, and she's corrected by the state's attorney multiple times. And last thing, you brought up facts. You said 760 signatures. That's 2.8% of our population. So that's a hard no here and a hard no for the other 97.2% as well. So thank you.
Next is Howard Miller.
Howard Miller, moved to Batavia in 1988, and I'm a proud member of this community. For this message, I'm going to refer to MIGRA agents instead of saying ICE or Border Patrol or whoever. MIGRA is an immigrant community term for immigration issues and for Border Patrol. Since we don't know who these agents are who are coming here, and here's an update on St. Charles. Today, just before Thompson Middle School was getting ready to dismiss, MIGRA agents grabbed someone on the Thompson campus and hauled them away. We have no idea whether he was shown. We don't know what he was charged with. We don't know if he was shown a warrant. All we know is he was taken away. And by the way, the St. Charles Police Department allows MIGRA agents to stage in their parking lot, something we want to avoid here. In September of this year, I and a few other members of the 1 Million Rising Tri-Cities joined with local residents in another one of our neighbors in West St. Charles. And what we did is we drove to apartments when school buses were dropping kids off after school to make sure that those kids got safely in their houses, because MIGRA was around grabbing people. We were on call to drive around town to spot and/or report of any suspicious MIGRA activities in the area to let residents know that MIGRA was there for them to stay indoors and be careful. We hand out cards, Know Your Rights cards, in Spanish and English, which tell citizens what their rights are, what they don't have to talk to MIGRA agents. They have the right to remain silent, and what MIGRA can do. And MIGRA has to have warrants, judicial warrants. And other members from Batavia, Geneva, and St. Charles, some of them are here tonight, have joined a rapid response team. We are on call to go out, and we cannot confront migra, but we can escort residents to their homes or cars. We're allowed to ask to see badges and warrants and the video arrest and treatment of detainees. I was able to ask questions of a migra agent at the Kane County Judicial Center the other day. I knocked on his window, which I wasn't supposed to do, but a little bit of good trouble is okay. He rolled the window down, and I asked him, "Why are you illegally parked in a handicapped parking spot?" His answer was, "I have a warrant." I asked him if I could see the warrant. He pulled out his phone and showed me the warrant. I said, "I need to see the signature on that warrant." He scrolled down to the signature, and I informed him that it was not a legal signature. It was an administrative signature. It was not judicial. It was an illegal signature. They are also...
You're beyond time now.
Can I just say one thing?
You're already a minute past.
Okay.
We have other people that would like to speak.
I just want to say, we're here, we're watching, and we're voters.
The next up is Haley Schuneman.
And you want to call the next one?
Ted Schuneman would be next after Haley.
You can come on up.
Hi, I'm Haley Schuneman, Batavia High School class of 2008, homeowner and taxpayer and voter in Ward 5 since 2021. I'll keep this brief, hopefully impactful, hopefully not too emotional. The strongest attraction I heard to this ordinance when I was at the last City Council meeting was twofold: that it's redundant to the Illinois Trust Act, and that it's symbolic and therefore not enforceable. I want to address each of these hesitations. Firstly, there are several laws and ordinances that are redundant. That's the nature of a democratic government. It serves many different levels: municipalities, state, and federal authorities. I see no harm in reinforcing Batavia's commitment to a statewide policy, especially when its constituents are directly and repeatedly demanding it. Secondly, I think what went unsaid during so much of the last discussion and what was continued today during our very long discussion, we know that this is mostly symbolic. I think ordinance or resolution, it is kind of moot. Legally, potentially. ICE agents are already operating outside the bounds of the Constitution. Whatever we can do to put our names in the history books as doing the right thing, even if it's writing down and documenting, is literally the least that we can do. It is the least that we can do. I think that the symbolism that what we pass is justification for doing it. I want to show that Batavia stands with its neighbors, not against it. Passing this ordinance is more about showing that Batavia is united against bigotry. It's more about that than being able to enforce any sort of legal action against those that wish to tear this community apart. As this administration continues to find problems where there are none and seek violent solutions to those problems, I hope that Batavia will stand on the side of peace. I don't think we have any business promoting peace on earth when we can't even make the small step towards ensuring a slice of it in our own community. Please vote in favor of this ordinance tonight. I am not interested in kicking this can down the road any further and putting our own council people at risk by delaying a vote. Vote tonight, vote yes. Thank you.
Schuneman, and then Matthew Zingel.
For anyone else who wants to sign up over. Okay.
Hello. My name is Ted Schuneman. I am the father of Haley, who was just up here. I second everything she said. I also second everything John Dryden said, and this gentleman over here as well. I've been a resident of Batavia's 5th Ward for 25 years. I support this ordinance. Regardless of where you sit on this issue, due process is a core fundamental right in this country. Apparently, the U.S. Constitution doesn't mean anything anymore, but it does apply to everyone in this country, whether you are here legally or not. Developing a modern and sustainable immigration policy has been a bipartisan failure for years. This current administration is creating chaos and collateral damage by letting ICE conduct these raids. This injustice affects everyone. When one group of people does not feel safe in their own homes and towns, no one is safe. Please vote yes for this ordinance. The other question I have is, who are they coming for next? Think about it. Thank you.
Matthew Zengel.
Hi, my name is Missy Hem. I'm here to speak for Matthew Zengel, who's traveling. He wasn't able to be here tonight. I want to start with something simple. Every household has rules. The law says people can't steal or trespass, but we still set our own boundaries at home. Who we let in, what's acceptable, and how we protect the people we love. We do that not because the law isn't enough, but because every home deserves clarity, safety, and peace inside its own walls. Our city is no different. The Illinois Trust Act already lays down important protections, but it's broad. It doesn't tell us exactly what happens if federal agents want to use our buildings, our parking lots, or our resources. A local ordinance would fill those gaps. It's our way of saying clearly and confidently that city property belongs to the people of this community, not to outside forces using it to sow fear or confusion. Just as families create house rules that build on the law, local ordinances build on state and federal protections. That's not duplication. That's how our system is meant to work. Each level reinforcing the next, each one closer to the people it serves. Passing this ordinance isn't about politics. It's about protecting trust between neighbors, between residents and city staff, between law enforcement and the people they serve. It's about making sure everyone feels safe enough to call 911, to report a crime, to walk into a city building without fear. We can honor the Trust Act and strengthen it locally the same way every caring household reinforces the rules that keep it safe. Because this city is our home, and setting our own house rules is how we keep it that way. Thank you.
Up next will be Sherry Das. And the next one would be Kate Cuneo.
Hi, I have been a 32-year resident of Ward 2. I spoke last time. I agree with everything everybody has said that is negative about ICE. There are two things I just want to address beyond that. One is that my understanding from what the council has said here is that our city attorney has said that this ordinance is legal. Okay? So all the talk about is it legal, is it not legal, what can we do, blah, blah, blah. Our lawyer has said it's legal. Secondly, no, this isn't going to make immigrants or my daughters feel any more safe in Batavia. They get it. This is just Batavia saying, we will not allow you to stage on city property. And it is, as someone mentioned, the least we can do. It shows that Batavia is on the humane side, on the compassionate side, on the moral side of this issue. But will my daughters still carry their passports in Batavia? Yes, they will, because they are worried about being picked up. But this will make them feel that Batavia at least cares about them. Okay, and if that's being real sentimental and symbolic, then so be it. But I do think this is a concrete, not necessarily symbolic thing that Batavia can do. Thank you.
Kate Cuneo is next, and then Jeremy D'Amico. Okay, Kate had to leave. Is Jeremy here? And then Josie D'Amico.
Good evening. Jeremy D'Amico, resident of the 5th Ward for the last 7 years. I support this ordinance, and it was just my intention to come up and say that. But then, and I brought my 2 children with me to witness local government in action. Here's an opportunity for each of you, 14 older people, to actually do something meaningful. And I know you do on the agenda. Every one of those items are meaningful. And I appreciate what you do. I appreciate that you're volunteering your time for it. But I encourage you to do something. Be an example and actually take a step. Don't just kick something down the road because it's easy, it's safe. You know what? Take a stand. Do your job. It was kind of disappointing that only two people up there on that desk have said or referenced that they actually wanted to hear from their community, the people they represent. Well, shouldn't you all be doing that? Have you done that? I don't know. I assume you do. I trust that you take your job seriously and you do that. But it would be nice to know that you're actually going out there, you're speaking to your constituents, your residents, and asking them, how do they feel about it? Because that's what your job is to represent them and then to do something. And that's what I encourage you to do, is to enact this ordinance tonight. Thank you.
Josie D'Amico. Get it right this time.
Hi, my name is Josephine D'Amico. I am a local student here in Batavia, and I came to support the ordinance to keep ICE out of our town. Batavia is represented and is a safe, welcoming, and encouraging environment for all, not just certain groups of people. And if we let these people into our towns, that would change the image that is represented of Batavia, which could severely have impacts on how people see us and how we feel about our own town and the safety of our community. And that keeping our residents safe has always been a Batavia priority. And if we sign this ordinance to keep our residents safe, this would strongly support the idea and the belief that Batavia is a united and safe community. Thank you.
Spencer D'Amico's next, and then Mary D'Amico.
Hello, I am Spencer D'Amico. I'm a 14-year-old 8th grader at RMS. I spoke about this issue on October 28th. I was one of the speakers there in support of this ordinance. So with that being said, I have my speech written out here, sorry. I truly hope that we can proceed immediately with this ordinance. This is not a deal with it later issue. This is a deal with it now issue. We can't just wait for it to solve itself. This is not going to go away. We have at least 3.5 years left of this, and it's not going to go away in that time. We need to deal with this now. My friends are terrified. I'm terrified for them. Please give them the security in going to school, knowing that their community supports them. Thank you.
Mary D'Amico, and then Jared Swacky.
I promise I'm the last D'Amico that you'll hear from this evening. I was rather hesitant about bringing my kids here tonight. As a parent, you kind of want to shelter them and protect them from what's going on in the world. But unfortunately, it's a lost battle there. They know what's going on. They see it. They hear about it from their friends. And they're scared, and they're scared on behalf of their friends. I won't belabor the point. I agree with this ordinance. I would implore you to take a stand and do what's right. Thank you.
And then Sarah Dreiser.
Hi, my name's Jared Swisicki. I'm a resident here of Batavia. I get it. I don't want to be here. I don't think any of us want to be in this position to be debating this, right? It's 9 o'clock on a Monday. That's rough, right? And here we are, me talking to a mostly white board, right? In a mostly white room, in a mostly white town. It's inconvenient to have to pass something like this when there might not be anything to gain from it, right? To step in front of the spotlight or step into the limelight in this moment, right? It's inconvenient, especially when we might be able to, when we're alone, think about how it doesn't impact us. But that's exactly when you need to step up, right? That's exactly when you need to take action. In those moments when you want to send a message that we're going to support everyone, not just the 90% of us that look like us and that we think won't be impacted, right? We've talked a lot about symbolism, right? That flag is symbolic. There's nothing enforceable about that flag. That flag doesn't have ordinances or laws that it can pass, right? And yet people get teary-eyed when it waves in the wind, right? Symbolism has so many meanings. It means so much in so many ways, right? So I think the idea, and I would even tie that into emotions, right? At the end of the day, the things that we do here, the work that we do should raise emotions. If you're not emotional about the things that you do, find better things to do. So I support this ordinance, whether symbolic or not. I think it sends the kind of message that I want to send to my peers and to my community and to my neighbors, which says, I've got your back. Whether I agree with you or disagree with you, I've got your back. And I'm willing to step out there into an unknown to make sure that you know that you are in the right place. You chose the right place by coming here to Batavia because we protect our own in the ways that we can. And nobody's confused about what we can or can't do. Definitely nobody's confused about what we can't do. So thank you.
Sarah, then Maura Hirschauer.
Hi, Sarah Dreiser, Ward 5 resident. Lots of great things said tonight. I just wanted to add my voice in support of what has been said. I know it's not perfect. I know it's small. I know the outcomes are convoluted and unsure. But what we do when we want to see change is we take a step. And this is the step that we have in front of us right now. So we take this step and then we see what's next. And I just want to encourage all of you to take that step tonight and pass the ordinance tonight and do what's on the table in front of us.
And then lastly would be James Cardis.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Maura Hirschauer, and I'm wearing two hats tonight. On one hat, I am here on behalf of my constituents, many of whom are in this room and who asked me to be here tonight, and many of whom were too fearful to be here tonight. And I'm also here as a Batavia resident of Ward 6. I voted to protect Illinois communities from unlawful immigration enforcement at the state level as a state representative of the 49th District. I am a proud co-sponsor of House Bill 1312, and I'm looking forward to the governor's signature on that bill as it has an immediate effective date. Every day since Operation Midway Blitz started, I have met with rapid response team members, community officials, school officials, and we go through the list of who was taken the day before or the morning of. And in all of those debriefs, it has become clear that immigration status does not matter, due process has no meaning, and the rules of the game have simply changed. But elected officials like myself and all of you in this room, we have the privilege to comment on the rules of the game and change them in any small ways that we can. It's difficult to collect data when communities are under attack. But from what we do know, very few and possibly not one single judicial warrant has been issued during Operation Midway Blitz. We know that close to 70% of the people who have been detained or disappeared have no criminal history, and if they do, it's for a speeding ticket. We know that they are detaining U.S. citizens, they are detaining people with work permits, parents with children in their car, just like they did in Aurora last week, where they left a baby alone in the car to take the parents away. Again, there is no due process and no rules. I really want to thank members of the City Council who brought this ordinance forward. Laura, you are putting yourself out in front of this issue. I commend you for that, and I thank you for that. I know that ordinances are not magic shields. They are a standard of care and a belonging for the community. So as a Batavia resident, I'm asking you to stand with our immigrant community and to vote yes on the ordinance tonight. We took that stand last week in Springfield, and I'm asking you to stand with us tonight. Thank you.
James Cardis.
Hi, Council. I was really only moved to speak after hearing the gentleman earlier say that the amount of names on the petition is about 2.8% of the total population, right? Well, it's actually about, conservatively, 12% of the total amount of people who voted in the last municipal election. So those numbers matter. I'd also like to just be on record as supporting the ordinance and supporting the professional staff who drafted it and put it up for consideration. They did a really good job in looking at the lay of the land throughout Chicagoland. And, you know, my day job is promoting tourism up and down the Fox River Valley. Like, this stuff, it's making it really hard for people to do their jobs in the hospitality industry. And so what I would like to see eventually is more communities in the Fox Valley adopt similar ordinances to this one. So, you know, again, we're not pioneers here, but hopefully we're making it easier for our neighbors to do the right thing as well. Thank you.
Okay, first motion we have, that's motion and second, is to table this for this evening.
Point of procedure real quick. A yes vote would take this item off the agenda for today and no further vote would occur. Is that correct? Correct. If we vote yes, the ordinance is off the agenda.
Right.
I just want to make sure.
At that point, so everybody knows. Thank you.
It was not to table.
I have clarification again about why the motion or was made to table it again.
Motion to table it.
Or further discussion.
Well, if you were listening earlier, I was trying. I said I want this tabled because I don't like the way it's worded, and I believe we should utilize something similar to what the St. Charles website, City of St. Charles website has on their website, which sets forth all of the principles and all of the feelings that we want to get across as the City of Batavia. I think that's sufficient because we already have the Illinois Trust Act in place.
You're not asking to table the ordinance. You're asking for us to not move forward with it and just do what St. Charles is doing.
Asking to table the ordinance.
For a future vote.
And I'm asking to table the ordinance and bring back something different.
Basically come back with a resolution or different wording, or it's not like it disappears the conversation, this specific ordinance.
So if you table something though, it's to come back for.
It could come back to the next
potentially
COW meeting.
Potentially, but not here.
I would say that ordinarily when something is tabled, that there is something to be done in between the time that it is next taken up. If it is something to where it's, if you just don't want to see it, that would be voting on the ordinance and voting it down.
Right. This is, I've made my proposal. I think it needs to be tabled. It's not like the way it's worded. I think we should do something different. I'm not saying that we don't have to do anything. I'm just saying I don't like the way this ordinance is worded. I'd like a different proposal.
And that would come up at the next committee of the whole meeting, correct, Roman?
Whenever you want it.
Right.
My request would be that.
I'm sorry, I want to hear the answer from Roman on that because we have tabled things in the past that have not come back on agendas. So I want to hear the direct answer from the attorney, please.
Yeah, so if you vote to table it, technically it's off the agenda. There's nothing nothing specifically that would bring it back to another cow unless aldermen would want to ask city staff to bring it back to a cow for a specific purpose.
It disappears unless we affirmatively take action to add it to a future agenda.
Correct. I think Alderman Solfa asked for that.
Well, this is
he wanted it in a different form, and it would be a proposal to come back in a different form. So
my understanding of Robert's rules, though, is that that's not part of our current motion we're voting on. And so it would take an action in addition to this vote to have it back on an agenda.
I said motion for table.
Right.
An alderman asked what my reasoning was. I didn't have to give any reason.
Absolutely correct.
So I gave a reason, and my motion to table is.
Yeah, I do believe I'm agreeing with you.
Alderman Fehrenbach.
Just for the audience. So if we were to pass this tonight, and something were to pass in the Illinois Senate or legislation, what have you, we can update the ordinance. It's not like if we pass this ordinance tonight, it's set in stone forever. We can always amend it and at a later date, and what have you.
I believe that's correct as well.
Lehman.
Just getting more clarification before we start voting. So if we vote yes to table, it comes off the agenda, and also we would then vote again in the city council meeting that follows this to table it again?
No.
It just comes off.
Have a positive recommendation.
Oh, right, does it not? Okay. If we vote no to tabling it, then we vote on the ordinance as it stands tonight.
If someone makes the motion.
Okay, thank you.
And the original ordinance has been amended. We already voted on that.
To add the word judicial in two places,
right, in
to
two
paragraph
spots.
2-1A.
Okay, so now we have a motion and a second. I think, who seconded the? Clancy did. Okay. Then we have a motion to table. So a yes vote would table it and remove further discussion tonight. If we vote no on that, then we go further into the agenda with it.
Correct.
Okay, roll call.
Solfa? Aye. Barron?
Yes.
Lehman?
No.
Lohman?
No.
Pieper?
No.
Fehrenbach?
No.
Anderson?
Yes.
White?
Aye. Yes.
Thank you. Barraza?
No.
Lancy?
Yes.
Beck?
No.
Millay?
No.
Malone?
No.
Wolf?
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 6. 6 yes, 8 no.
Okay, so the motion stays up for this evening. Get my agenda back out. And now I would entertain, are there any other amendments that would?
That was going to be my question. I would love to hear from folks that are on the fence. What other amendments need to be made? What other changes do you envision? I want to know and get a sense of if this is voted down, I have lost faith that it will come back in any other form. So I am looking for explanations and ways to compromise, hopefully on a draft tonight that we can get passed tonight.
I will add that I feel that the mask portion in the ordinance is going to put us at risk because we cannot enforce that. I also, to remove their face coverings, to ensure visibility of their badge. That is not something I feel that we can really put through, and that could put us in a very tight spot. A warrant shall be present. I also feel that this is something that we really can't control. So the requirements, where it says the requirements of the federal immigration enforcement, that doesn't make me feel comfortable because we really can't force the federal government to do something except to not commandeer on our property. As I stated earlier, I felt like some of the resolution part or some of the beginning part was more focused on this city as opposed to who this was really directed for. So I'd like to see some of that wording moved around on that. And also, there isn't anything that speaks to the Senate Bill 1312. There's some language that could be put in there that kind of connects that, bridges that together. And then, we talk about, reviewing this. If some of these things aren't in there, I would love to review this again pretty quickly. And this is just some of the layout part of it. Under section 1, under scope, I would like to switch B and C because again, it's really looking at, we're talking about the ordinance, it's just kind of the flow of it, where the prohibit the lawful use of the county-owned property. Again, as I said, a lot of this is, I'm okay going with the ordinance. I just don't like some of the wording and how it's laid out. But really the part of section 2 is what really makes me nervous. I would love to see taken out. And then also enhance some of our definitions because I think some of those definitions are just very vague. And I think that we need to spill out of what is city-owned property, what is civil immigration enforcement, and judicial enforcement.
I'm sorry, city property. What was the second
City-owned
one?
property, civil immigration enforcement, judicial enforcement, Illinois Accountability Commission, and also Illinois Trust Act.
I am comfortable with the way that the ordinance is written. I think that we've spent a lot of time going over the language. We've consulted different attorneys. I'd like to motion to vote on the ordinance as written.
Second. We have a motion by Lohman, second by Malay. Discussion? Alderman Beck.
Just to go back to the masks and the badge numbers, obviously that's been a component of many other state and local. It's been in many states. So is that something, Roman, that you flagged as something that would be a problem for the city? Is it something that the state's attorney brought up in her review?
In our review and discussion with the state's attorney, it's kind of one of those things and how you go about enforcing it, and discussion with city staff and how they would plan to implement it. Basically, just be a request from the city administration to remove their masks. If they don't comply with it, I don't think the city's going to take the next steps, but it's mostly just a position that the city wants to take that we at least have the authority to request that to remove their masks and make their badges and badge numbers identifiable to whoever they're interacting with.
And then a second follow-up question, Jennifer, that I'm directing at you about I agree that I want, a glossary attached to most of our ordinances to define and clearly articulate so there's no ambiguity on what we mean with the words that we mean. But do you anticipate any of the examples that you explained having debate among us? If that was something we could add to it, we could append to it after this passing, a glossary of what those mean. Do you anticipate any of them being controversial, or could we pass this and add that at a later time?
Kind of like what you said, that once it's off the table, we're not going to see it back. And so that's my concern of when are we going to see this back and have this discussion on this?
Many of us would commit to bringing that back and discussing it and agreeing on it in order to get this passed tonight. That is an easy concession to make.
My concern is we've had until Wednesday, and this is the first time that we're debating this. And I understand what the potential rush is, but I think that if there's some things that we are looking to add and change to that, waiting another week, to work on this I don't feel like we have really had a time to work on this as a community, as a council together. This is the first time that this has been brought to us as an ordinance, and we're being asked to, in 2 hours, to say, now we're going to implement this ordinance that are going to affect, for me, not just short term, but long term. This is a long term issue that, as obviously my neighbor mentioned, this has been something that's been going on for years. And so if we're looking to just push this through, this is just a short term thing. And I would rather really make it a long term. If we're going to do it as an ordinance, as a law, and take a ground.
I hear you. And so there's, I think that the community that has spoken, I think would allow us that give us that grace to say, we rushed into passing this. We did it since, we had a draft since Wednesday, and we passed it because we understood the urgency, and we understood the pressure and the emotions that are behind it. And we were going to get something done, and we were going to show our community that we cared. And I think that if we then got some time and some clarity, and we got new state language that we could reinforce, I think the community, totally, I think the community would understand and allow us to reopen that discussion and make amendments and make changes to language, to make changes to procedures in response as we go along. I think that this is the first of many conversations that we're going to have about this. I want to at least start the conversation on the right foot, on the foot of action, on the foot of doing anything. I don't think that backs us into a corner that we're not going to be able to get ourselves out of. Like, I don't think there's anything in here that pushes us into a place that we can't defend. I can defend every word in that. I will defend every word of that. I'll defend my vote all day long. And for generations to come, I will stand by it. But I'm also willing to change it and react to the moment that we're in, whatever that moment is, good or bad. Like,
I'm not comfortable with the procedure. I'm blatantly honest. I'm not comfortable where Laura is saying that she's the one out in front. I think our city administrator has more important things to do than to be answering calls.
She says she doesn't.
Are you two done right now? Okay. Alderman Braza.
I would like to go back to the part of the ordinance that talks about the mess and the badges. Roman, you mentioned that, so Laura goes out, you were going to request, hey, you'd be like to remove your mask. And if they don't, which they probably won't, you said we probably wouldn't go to the next step. What would the next step be? It is the same as everything else going along with judicial and going through the court system? Okay.
But I could record and
Sure,
I could report.
yeah. Mhm.
And that would be something.
Okay.
It's very clear. I support moving forward with this tonight. And I think in the future, in the very near future, we can continue this discussion with a welcoming ordinance and with making other statements about how this ordinance will fit in with other future resolutions or a welcoming ordinance that can just, and we can just continue moving our community and our town that way. And also, all of us smaller local municipalities making these decisions do influence at the state level. Sometimes state filters down, and sometimes we impact what happens that direction. And so the more of these local municipalities that are taking these stands and saying this matters, this is important, we want to see our state move in this direction, and that will have influence. And so I am just going to stand with my second that we move to vote on this tonight.
Yeah, so, I think I hear the hesitance and I understand it. And I know that when asked earlier that there was some desire to wait, I think we should listen also to the sponsor of the bill we were thinking of waiting on. The sponsor of the bill just stood before us and said, you don't got to wait for us, pass it now, okay? One thing that tells me too is that it might be important for us to revisit this. So I'm willing to state publicly in front of all the elder people who I see every week and my neighbors that absolutely I'll revisit this, right? If we run into challenges, I will publicly commit to be the second or the third to get it on an agenda to make sure that we get this right. I do believe though that tonight it's going to be important to get this passed. And then we can, if we got it wrong in a definition here or there, I think those are good discussions to have, and we can revisit that. And so another thing I'm hearing here is that we weren't speaking directly, I'm trying to pick exactly the right words, but I guess I won't find them. But it's not oriented enough to the impacted individuals, the folks actually impacted by the ICE things. I think a lot of us recognize that we're not the targets here. And if that's the case to folks, I apologize that we aren't focusing enough in our wording. Just know that our actions are such that we are thinking of the impacted communities at the time. I'm happy to revisit a welcoming ordinance or find a way to just make that reaffirmation, which is important in our strategic plan to that. So again, this is just me kind of saying that I hear the reservations and I don't want to dismiss them. I think action today is important. I think we can revisit, and I'm going to make the public commitment that I will revisit that with you, that I will be the one to back up that getting it back on the agenda to think about it after we pass it tonight.
Alderman Solfa?
There's been several comments now about wanting to vote on it as worded. I don't mind section 1 for the most part. I don't think it's worded the greatest. Section 2 and section 2 definitely is not, I can't support, if that's going to be included in the ordinance, I can't support it. And section 3 is not worded correctly either. I mean, I'm just looking at the way it's not worded correctly. It should more closely align with the Illinois Trust Act in terms of section 3. Section 2, I just think is not appropriate. Section 1, like I said, for the most part, if we're gonna have to vote on the situation, I would say fine with section 1, no section 2, no section 3. But if the overall situation is going to be, you have to vote on it as worded, I have to vote no because I can't agree with section 2 and section 3. Section 1, it's pretty close to what the Illinois Trust Act says. I'm pretty good with that, but the wording's wrong in section 2 and section 3. So I'm not against the whole situation. This ordinance isn't proper.
Alderman Malay?
Again, I think we have an opportunity to pass this ordinance here, and then we can improve on it. We can't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. If we vote no, it's much like tabling, which, by the way, according to Robert's rules, tabling something for the purpose of killing it without a specific postponement time to redo it is an unfair procedure under Robert's rules. I would ask that we pass this so we can come back and refine it. If we vote no now, it's done and we've let down our constituents.
Unless we do a motion to bring it back, refine it in the next week and bring it back next week to Cow.
There's no Cow next week. It's the 25th. Oh, there is a Cow next week? Oh, that's the budget? Yes. It's the budget meeting.
Alderman Fehrenbach.
I just want to clear something in my mind. Keep in mind it's late. We have 10 minutes before 10 o'clock. So when it comes to, my understanding is once you talk about an ordinance in the COW, then it is automatically on the agenda for the next city council meeting, correct?
Sometimes.
Some recommendation.
Yeah.
It depends. If there's more information that would be needed to support the ordinance or not, then that would be, we have delayed things.
Yeah, we've delayed it to another
time frame.
My concern is that we're giving the impression that from what I just understood, we're not tabling it based on the vote we just took, right? Mm-hmm. So as of right now, it's going to be in the city council meeting, correct?
Immediately following this meeting.
Following this meeting, we're going to have another city council meeting. But if we don't have a city council meeting tonight, it'll just be on the next one, most likely.
But if we vote no, then the city council meeting goes away.
Right. So if it has a recommendation for approval, or if it gets voted down and there's no other changes recommended to it, it goes on the next city council meeting. But if it gets voted down, but there's direction to make some type of amendment to it and bring it back at a future meeting, then the next meeting that it's going to be on will be a committee of the whole meeting in order for it to be voted to be recommended for approval by the city council.
So the reality is that during the COW, when we vote on motions, it's really a motion to send to council with positive recommendation.
Recommend to council.
To recommend to council with positive recommendation.
Right, because you can't take any final.
If it gets voted down, it doesn't go on unless there's a motion made to send it, to postpone it.
Postpone it.
For refinement.
So we've cleared the table motion. And now the next vote is going to be, does this go to the city council meeting?
With approval.
Okay.
Which happens to be tonight.
Let's vote.
Alderman Barron?
So maybe, okay, there we go. I would say maybe for us to move forward, let us pull out section 2 at this point and then make that a part of a conversation that we come back. Because as I said, the other stuff, for me, it's just moving some of the items around. And if this is something that we're committing to come back and speak to, I believe that that would then put Alderperson Sulfa and I on the list to vote for it, with section 2 being removed.
For me, I'd also want section 3 removed because that's not worded correctly either. But section 1, which is what most people have been talking about and worried about.
But we could refine that.
Isn't there a motion and a second to vote on the?
As worded.
But I'm just answering to Alderperson Beck's question on that.
But there's already been a motion by Alderman Lohman to vote on it as worded. So.
With the amendment that was made earlier, approved.
Judicial.
It wasn't even enough of an amendment.
What?
She could withdraw her motion if she wanted to make an amendment.
Yeah, if we wanted to make any changes on it, we would have to ask Alderman Lohman to withdraw the motion, so then we could go further with it. Alderman Beck.
Just wanted to say, in case people in the audience didn't have the language in front of them, or if any of us don't have the language in front of us, that removing section 2 is the enforcement action on city property. So it would remove out that kind of meat from the ordinance.
Yeah, and I'm sorry.
That would be the enforcement of a warrant and then the face coverings. But there would still be in section 1, it would talk about being on our city property and staging and possessing a location. That's under section 1.6C. The ordinance does not prohibit lawful use of city-owned controlled property for purchases other than. Wait, where does it say that? Well, section 1.1, no city-owned or controlled parking lot, vacant garage, or applicable property should be used for staging, possession, location, operations based for immigration. That's in section 1. Section 2 is about the requirements of enforcement for federal civil immigration enforcement on our property.
Malone.
Thank you. So I heard a lot about how unenforceable it is, and now I feel like we're taking the enforcement mechanism out. I would prefer to keep all parts of section 2, but I think I would be willing to remove section 2, paragraph 1, part B. That's the face covering component. I'd be okay removing that if that's what it takes to get it done today. I think the judicial warrant component of it for documentation purposes to kind of make sure that the governor's immigration task force knows when they're using civil warrants and judicial warrants. That's an important reporting mechanism. I'd prefer that one stay in though, but I could support amending it to remove the face coverings.
Okay, I'll agree.
Okay.
Can I add one thing? Because I went through and marked this up again. I printed out the guidance on Illinois laws governing law enforcement interactions with immigrant communities. And part of this in the first page, it talks about in 2021, the Illinois General Assembly expanded protections and obligations in both these laws, which would have been the Trust Act and the Voices Act. And it says that the Way Forward Act also authorizes the Attorney General of Illinois to conduct investigations and bring civil enforcement actions to ensure compliance with the Trust Act or the Voices Act. So there's the mechanism already in state law that we could utilize, that if we had to have somebody videotape that and have civil enforcement happen after that, we could do that. We wouldn't have to make a new rule for it, that even if we pass this tonight, tomorrow they show up, is that going to make the community safer? That's one of the reservations that I've had all along, is that no matter what we do, are we truly making the community safer, or are we just saying it? And I get that it's emotional. I get that it's political. It is all of those things. But in the end, I want to do something, and I want to not just feel good about it. I want to know it actually has teeth and it can do something to try and stop what's happening. And that's what I would like us to do. And if that means we pass whatever we decide on tonight, and then next week we come back with a real explanation of what the new House bill is, even before the governor signs it, so we can understand how we could utilize that and maybe put heat on him to actually sign it so it is something we could use to help protect people, then I'd be all for it. And I guess that's where I'll stop. Alderman Lehman?
Thank you. Just a reminder again that State Representative Hirschauer, who is neck deep in all of this, supports the ordinance as written. I do have a question for Alderperson Barron. So if we take out section 2(1)(b), are you in favor of voting on this ordinance tonight?
Yes.
So then we would need to take the current motion off the table to make that amendment before we vote on the ordinance.
It has a friendly amendment.
What?
You could see it as a friendly amendment.
A friendly amendment?
And we'd vote on that amendment first, and then we would vote on the ordinance in total. And I guess in my mind, it's a moot point, because I think the votes are there to pass it regardless what anybody else wants to do. So.
Call the question.
Okay, I called the question.
Well, you can't. Alderman Lohman has to. It's her motion.
I think anybody can call the question.
Yeah, anyone can call the question. Oh, do you call the question?
I would like to.
I have to pull up my Robert's rules to be specific. So
Okay. Yeah, I'm not too worried about that. It's typically whoever makes the motion will get to call the question. You guys both got it out. There you go.
I'd like to proceed with the vote.
Okay. And that is as written. You'd like to vote? As amended with the judicial warrant.
But not the 2(1)(b).
Right.
Yeah, I think, I'm sorry, I'm confused. She's not amending, we're just the one amendment.
Going to move forward with Kevin's amendment.
Excellent. Thank you.
So the motion and second out there is to approve the ordinance as written with the one addition of section 2(1)(a), adding judicial to the word warrant in both places where it appears in A. Okay, roll call.
Lohman.
Aye.
Pieper.
Aye.
Fehrenbach.
Aye.
Anderson.
No.
White.
Aye.
Barraza. Lancy.
No.
Lipbeck.
Aye.
Millet.
Aye.
Malone.
Aye.
Wolf.
No.
Solfa.
No.
Barron.
No.
Lehman.
Aye.
9 yes, 5 against.
We'll go to City Council this evening with a positive recommendation.
Question. When is this something that we can get back on the agenda to speak about, to make adjustments, since I've been told in front of the group that they would be willing to do that?
We can't do it at the next COW meeting because that's a budget meeting. And I don't want anything else on the agenda but the budget so we can get through that. If we
Jen,
can agree on that.
Jen, I'd be very happy to follow your lead on that.
I have a question about that.
One moment.
From what I understand, when a motion has been made for the ordinance to move to council, then it goes to city council meeting, and then there we vote on it. And if we have amendments to make, which I'm happy to refine it, we can, once it's passed at city council, then we can continue to bring it up.
Once it passes in the form here. This would be the place to have had the amendments. That's why I asked if you wanted to allow a friendly amendment, we could do that now.
But it's not the last chance you get, because we amend our ordinances all the time.
Robert's rules allows amendment.
All the time.
Yes.
It would just be weird.
It's meeting, which is the meeting after this. So for the resident, well, that's what it's getting confusing here.
Yeah.
So,
we will be voting in a couple minutes at a city council meeting to actually pass the ordinance.
and if we vote yes to vote for that ordinance, we can still amend it. Yes. So for everyone that's leaving, I know it's really late, but we're going to be voting to officially pass it in the next meeting after this. So we're having another meeting tonight. I know it's super late, but that's when it's going to officially pass, and we can still amend it later at a future discussion meeting. But tonight, we're having another vote.
But we're not going to be able to amend it tonight.
Right. We won't amend it tonight, but I also will go on record to publicly state that I would support amending it and refining it at a future COW once we pass it at our city council meeting immediately after this meeting.
I could have just done that.
Okay, we will move on then to 8.3, which is Resolution 2025-127R, authorizing property and liability insurance renewal. Alderman Barron?
Come on, guys.
Clear the room.
Okay, I'll go ahead and just start. So Resolution 2025-125-R, authorizing property and liability insurance renewal. The City of Batavia's 2025-2026 insurance premiums are projected to increase by 10.12%, rising from $784,000 to $863,000. The largest increase is in property coverage due to higher insured values and auto coverages reflecting an expanded fleet. The package policy also rose 13.94%, aligning with the city's larger budget and liability exposure. There were a couple minor decreases with cyber liability and aircraft liability, while excess workers' compensation remained flat under the 2-year agreement. The coverages will remain with the current carriers of Travelers, Trident, Ascot, and Midwest employers, maintaining continuity despite moderate cost growth.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? One of the things we do every year right at budget time. Okay, if no questions, would you like to make a motion to recommend to council?
I make a motion that we recommend the resolution 2025-127-R to City Council.
Second, we always need insurance.
Motion by Barron, second by Solfa. All those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries 14-0. That could go on the consent agenda.
Same for my next 3?
Probably not.
wait, not to put them on there. 8.5 is ordinance 2025-53, amending the city code related to sanitary sewer usage rates. This ordinance updates the sanitary sewer rates effective January 1st, 2026. The change includes an 8% increase and a new monthly capital fee of $375 for residential and $750 for commercial customers. These adjustments ensure significant funding for sewer system maintenance, regulatory compliance, and long-term capital improvements. The additional revenue will reduce reliance on bond financing while maintaining reliable service. Did I get everything?
I think that covers it.
All right, so I recommend that we approve ordinance we recommend to council ordinance 2025-53, amending the city code related sanitary sewer usage rates.
Second.
Okay.
I have a quick question. Oh, sorry.
Okay. Go ahead.
I should have asked this before. I'm just for clarification. So we're voting on these ordinances for the adjustment of the usage rates. I'm just curious why we're doing this before we have more budget talks.
Because we have to approve the rate increase, and then that directs our budget talk.
Not vice versa.
Similar to what we did with the wage and salary ordinance, approved it before so that you know going into the budget that these things have been approved.
Or else you wouldn't have the rates in which to spend on the things that are in the budget.
Yeah. I know in my mind it was flipped. Like we decide on what we want to do with the budget first and then find the money for it. But
And we have to have this presented to you before we wait till, because sometimes it's like December 1st when the budget's approved. So we have to have this presented
place
to you
for
guys
January
before.
1st.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we could change the rates at any time. It's not necessarily part of the budget. We're just discussing it as part of the budget, but we would have the ability to change the rates on any of our utilities.
And typically the rate increases are over a multi-year period when we know we're going to have to do something. The way it was called out in this, that it was, for infrastructure and all the things that we know are in both the capital budget out couple of years and in our operating budget. So that's why
related to the budget, but also unrelated to our current budget.
Kind of like I never liked the fact that we passed the wage and salary ordinance before we do our, negotiations with the unions. But when they look at our budget, they know what's in the budget, and they're going to try to get all of it every time. Any other discussion or any questions? We have motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that one carries too. And no, those probably shouldn't go on the consent agenda. I think we should talk about it. Yeah. Unfortunately, we have to be honest and open about it and let everybody know that they're going to pay more next year. Yes. And the next year.
Electric.
Okay.
All right, 8.6, ordinance 2025-54, amending the city code related to electric usage rates. This will increase the Batavia electric rates by 3% effective January 1st, 2026. This is the first adjustment since 2025. 2015, sorry. The increase will help cover rising operational costs and fund essential capital improvements, while a full rate study will be completed in 2026 by our consultant, the Brattle Group. Updates include modest increase to base fees and energy and demand charges for all customer classes. And again, customers will see these new rates reflected on their bills starting January 2026. I move we recommend ordinance 2025-54 to council.
Second.
Second by White. Any
Did I
discussion?
hit all the highlights, Andrea?
The only thing that I
would add is that we are currently undergoing our cost of service study with the Brattle Group. So that is still to determine our rate structure. So we may come back this upcoming year with additional changes to that. But for right now, we need to fund our projects. We're proposing this 3% increase right now, and we'll be back with that study as the Brattle Group continues, so sometime mid-year.
What I think is maybe a silly question, but we spent a lot of time talking about a data center and how they were going to be buying a whole bunch of electricity from us, and we were going to get a nice chunk of that in our service fees. Explain to me why we should be raising our rates now when we think we might have some cash down the line that might fill this particular need at that point.
Well, next year.
No.
Well, and so tell me that story. Sell me on that.
There, in the master services agreement, there is a schedule to reimburse the data center developer for the cost of the offsite improvements. So in the early year, there isn't sufficient income coming in from that. But when you look out over a period of 20 years, it is a lot that will be there. And so this is to fill that gap in the short term.
In addition, we have not raised any rates for electric in 10 years.
Yeah, and so we're not anticipating any data center funds coming into our electric utility for a long enough period that we need a stopgap, essentially.
Yeah.
Thank you.
6-7 years.
Gotcha.
Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, Alan?
Yes. Sorry, Abby, I didn't see your hand.
That's okay. I was up and down because I'm like answering my own question and then saying, no, it's a dumb question. But with the capital, the fees that are baked into all three of these for the capital improvements, some of them are brand new, some of them are some of them are going up, right? So we've had capital fees before.
They had a fee on electric, but not on sewer and water.
Okay.
That's not technically correct.
That's why she's here.
It's not a capital fee in the electric. It's just increasing the monthly charge.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I had my hand up the previous one too, and then I put it down. So it applies to the other two, not this one. Sorry, I'm out of turn. But in general, when I look at the long-term capital improvement plans and how much is being pulled out of those capital funds, do we ever see an existence where those can go away? That we paid off our one-time capital. We've got enough reserves. We can pull those back in the future when we don't need them and reinstate them when we do?
I mean, the short answer to that is yes, but what we're trying to do, we've had to borrow for projects that we've been doing the last several years. And what our hope is, instead of borrowing, that we get that savings account that we're paying for future capital projects with.
And we do have I could speak for wastewater. They provided us with a long list of maintenance projects. A lot of lift stations were put in with the developments. We had 19 storm or sanitary lift stations. We increased one additional one with the latest renovations at the wastewater plant. So some of those, the pumps and all that and the housing are being looked at this year. Zach is doing one. Next year, we're carrying over to complete the other one. And those are, $300,000 each for this new system that we're doing. So we have quite a few of those in town that are coming up to end of life, and service parts and computer systems and all of that are aging out and just need to be replaced. So that is helping provide funds for that.
And anytime we can borrow, though, for projects at 0% interest, like I know we're really good at getting those loans, we'll opt for that route instead, right? And keep the savings account growing so that we can, when we need to use our taxpayer dollars, our fees, that we will, but we've got those options still out there, right?
Yes, but we still have to service that debt, right? So we're still going to, even at 0%, there's an annual payment that gets made. And so the preference would be to borrow as little as possible if we have sufficient reserves built up from that capital fee.
it's likely that we'll continue to borrow. For the wastewater treatment plant, we've already borrowed $72 million, and we have another $75 million of improvements to make. So that right there kind of signals we're not going to have an end to rate increases for the sewer system.
Yeah,
The water system has a lot of aging water mains and improvements needed at the water treatment plant, but it's possible that we might be able to get that to a point where we don't have to keep increasing rates. And electric, we have the last few years, we've needed a rate increase, but we were delaying it because we kept thinking we're going to have a rate study, but then the whole IRP process delayed that. And we really can't wait any longer because we've been completing projects and using the reserves. So we need a rate increase at this time. And then it can always be changed in the future, lowered in some categories, raised in others, depending on what the studies say.
Right. And some of the projects that we're doing are undergrounding the power lines, which are more expensive than just replacing in kind in place. So those are directives from council. And then we have to replenish those reserves that we're going into for electric. So I kind of wrapped them all up in one, but they're all individual items.
Okay, well, we have a motion and second on ordinance 2554 to recommend it at the council. That's the electric rates. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. And then we move on to 87.
This is ordinance 2025-52, amending the city code related to water usage rates. This will update Batavia's water rates effective January 1st, 2026. The change does include a 3% rate increase and a new monthly capital fee of $3.75 for residential and $7.50 for commercial accounts. These adjustments are designed to support ongoing maintenance, regulatory compliance, and major water system improvements outlined in the city's capital plan. Anything else to add to that?
Covers it.
Oh, motion. Sorry. I motion we recommend to council ordinance 2025-52.
Second. By Barron, second by Malone. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Did Bob vote? I didn't hear him.
I was aye. Sorry, just slow.
It's okay. I wait so that I make sure that you get your vote in. Okay, that passed 14. Your council. Keep going on your show, Jen. The next one's yours too.
No, it's not.
Oh, I got it.
Oh,
That's city service.
oh, city service. I'm sorry, I read that wrong.
The next two are closely connected. It's authorized a 3-year contract with Dakra Tech LLC for their e-ticketing municipal enforcement system modules for an amount not to exceed $118,000, being resolution 25-124R. And Chief, I think your memo was very explanatory, but I think you do a much better job explaining than I would.
Sure. Yeah, this is a kind of end-to-end enforcement software system. Dacratech is widely used throughout the area. Really, this is e-ticketing from ticket issuance. So squad cars would be outfitted with mobile printers. We would utilize their software applications to import data through our CAD system, reducing the amount of time, reducing error by officers as they're trying to do data entry, and reducing the amount of time it takes for them to import that data. And then issue citations. But it does a lot more than that, because then on the back end, it integrates with our records management system. That data is then uploaded into our records management system, can be transferred to the circuit clerk's office. So tickets kind of make their way through the system without all of that administrative handling performed. Right now, we have a very slow administrative manual process. This is going to be a huge time saver for us. really kind of a very powerful tool for what I would consider to be a pretty low price when you look at it annually cost of $36,000 per year. So.
I think it's a matter of efficiency and the technology, and we're already using that vendor, DACRA, with the records management, correct?
But we are not using DACRA currently. DACRA already has integrated with our records management system, not ours specifically, but other law enforcement agencies in the area utilize New World's records. That's what we utilize. They've integrated with their systems, so we know that they have the patch to integrate with ours. Same thing with our SunGuard CAD system. They've integrated with SunGuard CAD. They have the capability to do so, so we are confident that they are able to do so into our CAD.
I'll just make note that I think it's nice. DACRA's a local company. They're out of Itasca, so it's just a nice semi-close to home.
Any other discussion? Oh, yeah.
Wasn't sure. I'm reading the memo, and I'm sorry if I missed it. What did we actually budget for these next two? Are we within budget?
We are within budget, yeah.
Are we under budget?
So
over budget?
we are under budget, but that is because we are. They charge a monthly fee of $3,000 per month. We budgeted for all of 2025. We're just now getting to this now at the end of 2025. So we have the money. We'll actually roll money over from 2025 into 2026 to help cover some of those additional costs. But yeah, we're within budget for 2025. And then the out years, 26, 27, those will need to be budgeted as we go through the budget process.
I had two comments, Tony. One is, I just confirmed with Laura that it's in IT, I think, this year, and next year it moves to the police department.
Correct.
So we're putting the IT stuff in the departments that it really belongs in. Am I correct, Peggy? Is that where it's, okay, so that's right. And then I was going to say, and don't worry if the printers don't work, they still mail you the ticket later. I can, yeah. Even in the middle of Wisconsin, they do that. But the printer didn't work. I tried to get out of the ticket, but it didn't work.
It's cool cars to drive. That's your problem.
It was actually my wife's car. I made it all the way back with the vet and didn't get in trouble.
All right, any other discussion? I move that we send with the recommendation to Council Resolution 25-124R, authorizing a 3-year contract with DACRA Tech LLC for their e-ticketing municipal enforcement system modules for an amount not to exceed $118,000.
Second. Motion by Malay, second by Anderson. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, opposed, that passes. That'll be 14-0. Thank you.
Next one is closely related. It is for the printers with Print Tech Resolution 2025-125R, authorizing the purchase of 12 Print Tech VP 420 squad car printers and 2 Print Tech 1i820 mobile printers from Ultra Strobe Communication for an amount not to exceed $12,000.
Just curious, does this upgrade the whole fleet? Is this like a...
This covers our entire marked fleet.
Okay.
The administrative fleet doesn't really.
Yeah, I just meant the squad car. Okay.
Yep.
12 squads.
That's what I thought, yeah.
12 marked
12
squads.
patrols.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if they needed a portable one, like for truck enforcement, they could take it in the truck enforcement. Is that what the portables are for?
These will be installed in the squads. So the portable ones, we have 12 marked squads. 2 of those are supervisor squads. Those supervisor squads will actually get 2 printers. The mobile printers are a 8.5 inch, so it'll print a full sheet of paper. And can be utilized out in the field for printing like other documentation that we may have, not had in the squad car, or something, domestic violence paperwork that we want to be able to issue to a victim or something like that.
Next question, I have one more. Is that also a local company? So if we need service on them or warranty work or anything on the printers, is that local?
I believe they are local. I don't remember where they're out of.
Okay.
I move that we send to Council Resolution 2025-125R, authorizing the purchase of 12 Print Tech VP 420 squad car printers and 2 Print Tech i820 mobile printers from Ultra Strobe Communications for an amount not to exceed $12,000.
Second. Motion by Malay, second by Anderson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, who says we can't get stuff done after 10?
Alderman. You're out of Benton Harbor, Michigan, so.
Okay, not too far, unless it's snowing.
Yeah.
Okay, you have 3 minutes.
Okay, this is speed project status. We're looking forward to the open house celebration at the Batavia Interfaith Food Pantry and Clothes Closet. That's on November 21st from 3 o'clock to 7 o'clock. You can check our website for more information on that. And Lauren Underwood, who is responsible for providing us with the $3 million community project funding grant that made it possible, is going to be in attendance that afternoon. Plan Commission met on November 5th. They approved a design review for the Winding Creek Park. That's a Geneva Park District park with a requirement to add 2 bike racks to the site. And then also they reviewed conditional use for video gaming at Gammon Coach House at 3 South Batavia Avenue and have made a positive recommendation to City Council. This will be on the November 25th COW for committee consideration. Also, there will be an open house on November 19th here. It is at 4:30 p.m. and then a public hearing at 7 o'clock p.m. for the South River Street Corridor Plan. Super excited and congratulations to New Moon Vegan, who received their Illinois Made commemorative plate on November 5th. The Illinois Made program was created by the Illinois Office of Tourism in 2016 to celebrate the diversity of small businesses across the state and support them by encouraging travel to all regions of Illinois. With this new 2025 class, there are currently 277 makers in the Illinois Made program, and 12 of those makers are in the area of the Aurora Area Convention and Visitors Bureau, of which we are a member. Thanks to Human Resources, they hosted a really great wellness and benefits seminar on November 5th. They had about 13 vendors in attendance, and 80 to 90 of our employees came here to stop by and learn more and ask questions. In IT, they just wanted me to mention that the annual KnowBe4 cybersecurity awareness training has been released. And so if everyone could please do that, either the refresher course, or if you're newly elected, you'd participate in the introductory course. Yes.
Are we getting an email? I know Howard sent out like a save the date kind of thing.
You will receive your very own email with a link to take the training online. The Peace Bridge ramp sidewalk has been completed and was reopened last week. Restoration at the street level is ongoing and will continue for another week and then wrap up for the season. The bridge is going to be closed all winter due to the railings not being available for 12 weeks after the completion of the pour. So that whole winter, that ramp is just going to be closed. Remediation work is ongoing at the Webster Street site, and site restoration is going on at the wastewater treatment plant. In fire, Lieutenant DiNicola, Lieutenant McDonald, and Max attended the Center for Public Safety Excellence. It's a program that is related to the accreditation process that is part of the fire department strategic plan. And also firefighters Ballantine, Barocchi, and Lafretti attended the responder intervention team training. This is where the first responders are required to go in and rescue a fellow member of the department. So both very important training, and the course includes classroom lectures, firefighter fatality case studies, drag and carries, breaching, heavy lifting with hydraulic and pneumatic tools, and hands-on scenario-based training involving a firefighter mayday. That's all I have, unless anybody has any. Yes.
The Hubbard Building, the Historical Commission approved demolition, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So they'll come to us when?
On the 25th?
What's the 25th?
Yeah.
My holiday.
We don't have the date yet. We were originally having them come next week, but we had some issues with some of the parking lot and what's going to happen with the parking lot after demolition. So we're trying to work that out with them before we get it on the agenda. So it's mutually agreed to that we're delaying it. So.
Yes.
Make sure I heard it right. You said the Peace Bridge ramp will be closed, but not the bridge.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Peace Bridge, open all winter.
Right.
Ramp, closed all winter. Unfortunately, it's an ADA issue not to have that railing.
No, that's fair. I can tell.
That was my question as well. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, then we now need a motion for adjournment. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
We are going to stretch for a few minutes before the mayor can have the gavel.
How long is the break?
A few minutes.
Okay.
Okay, we were called to order the special city council meeting for November 10th, 2025. I guess I would ask the clerk to call the roll.
I'd be delighted. Raza. Here. Lancey.
Here.
Beck. Here. Malay. Here. Malone.
Here.
Wolf.
Here.
Solfa. Here. Barron. Here. Lehman. Here. Lohman. Here. Pieper.
Here.
Fehrenbach.
Here.
Anderson. Here. White.
Here.
Thank you. 14 present, no absent.
Thank you. In the interest of time, item 2, the invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, I would just ask that Batavia enjoy a special blessing for the Christmas season, and we are ever thankful for the many acts of kindness and community support that are now coming to forefront of all these people that want to help others in need at Christmas time. So it's a wonderful place to be in and a nice town to be part of. And so I'm very thankful for that. Amen. Moving then to item number 4, anybody wanted to speak in the microphone, I was being asked to remind you to please come forward and use the recording device. Matters from the public. Does anybody in the audience wish to address us about anything? Guess not. Items to be removed, added, or changed on the agenda. I don't know of any. All right, moving then to 7, the consent agenda, except.
I got to add the consent, or the executive session.
We have to add an executive session to this meeting because we removed it from the other one, so we didn't have to clear the room.
Well, we're not quite there yet.
Well, no, we have to add one to this.
Oh, okay.
So we have to vote on that because we're changing the agenda.
Somebody, you want to make that as?
I will make that motion that we add an executive session. Collective bargaining.
Second.
Motion and a second by Alderman Wolf and
Malone.
Any, clerk call the roll?
Wolf.
Aye.
Solfa.
Aye.
Barron. Aye. Lehman. Aye. Lohman. Aye. Pieper. Aye. Fehrenbach. Aye. Anderson.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Thank you. Baraza. Aye. Lancey.
Aye.
Beck.
Aye.
Malay.
Aye.
Malone.
Aye.
14 yes, no, none absent.
I assume we'll do that under the end of the agenda?
Yes.
Okay. All right, moving then to the regular agenda, we have Resolution 2025-132-R, authorizing emergency repairs to well number 9.
So yeah, well number 9 is one of our biggest wells, highest producing wells. And back in July, there was a catastrophic motor failure. So it needed removal, inspection, repair. So this is seeking approval to do the emergency rehabilitation.
Somebody care to make a second on that?
I'll move that we pass. I'll move to pass unless anybody has any questions. We need the well working.
Yes.
I move that we pass resolution 2025-132R.
Second.
Motion and second for the emergency repairs to well number 9. Any discussion on that? Clerk, call the roll.
Solfa. Aye. Barron. Aye. Lehman. Aye. Lohman. Aye. Pieper. Aye. Fehrenbach. Aye. Anderson.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Thank you. Baraza. Aye. Lancey.
Aye.
Beck.
Aye.
Malay.
Aye.
Malone.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
14 yes, no, none absent.
Motion's approved. Moving to item 8.2, Resolution 2025-131-R authorizing emergency repairs to the sewer cleaning equipment.
This is another piece of equipment that experienced a catastrophic failure in terms of vacuum and fan assembly. It's a truck that's used by streets, water, sewer, electric, wastewater. We need it working. We need it repaired. That's my summary, unless anybody has questions.
We don't have the same guy working the well in the sewer.
No, this is just so happened that we had catastrophic failures on two different things.
These are months apart, and I believe that truck is scheduled to get repaired or replaced next year, but you can't trade the one in that we have without it working, and you can't get there to when the new truck comes in without fixing this one.
So moved.
Our Public Works Director is at the podium. Do you have anything to say?
I was just about to say she's not there.
No, yeah, I think
Sorry.
Chris did a great job. This is something that needs to be replaced and repaired. We should have the parts within a couple days to 2 weeks, and then we'll be back up and running. And in the meantime, we have emergency backups if need be. But that truck already has a long wait list.
I second that motion.
We have a motion and second for the sewer cleaning equipment purchase, repairs. Clerk, call the roll.
Lancy, right?
Yep.
Lancy.
Aye.
Beck. Aye. Malay.
Aye.
Malone.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Solfa.
Aye.
Barron.
Aye.
Lehman. Aye. Loman.
Aye.
Pieper.
Aye.
Fehrenbach.
Aye.
Anderson.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Thank you. Baraza. Aye. 14 yes, no, none absent.
Very good. Moving on to item 8.3, ordinance 2025-065, amending the municipal code, adding Title 7, Chapter 8, restricted use of city properties. Who's got this one?
Alderman Barron?
Aaron?
Oh. Sorry, let me bring up my notes. I forgot.
I got you if you want me to.
Nope, I got it.
Okay.
All right, so this is an ordinance amending the code. This was created a new section of the Batavia Municipal Code to restrict city-owned property from being used for civil immigration enforcement. It ensures that federal immigration actions cannot occur on city property without a warrant and proper identification, and prohibits of city data for such enforcement, and directs staff to post signage and report violations. The measure reinforces the city's commitment to transparency, community trust, and safety while maintaining compliance with lawful warrants and criminal enforcement. And we just had a very lengthy discussion earlier this evening
3 hours.
regarding this. Yes.
So moved.
Second.
Yes.
Motion and second for the approval of ordinance 2025-065. Any further discussion from the council? Alderman Barron?
Yep. Yeah, thank you. Again, I am going to reiterate where I do care about our immigrant community. I just don't feel that this ordinance does enough for them and their protection. That where it also merges with our state legislation that was recently passed. I feel like this was a very rushed ordinance with us only having 4 days and 2 hours to discuss it. I know that older people have mentioned that they are willing to bring this up to discuss this in the future. But again, I am not going to vote in favor of this. We did have an opportunity to amend it, and that was not done. So, you know, that will be a no vote for me this evening.
I'm the same way. Like I reiterated earlier, I don't like Section 2 or Section 3 the way either one of them are. First of all, I don't think Section 2 should even be there, and Section 3 is worded incorrectly. Because there was no amendments to get rid of Section 2 and Section 3, I have to be a no vote. I mean, I agree with Section 1. That basically follows the Illinois Trust Act, but Section 2 and Section 3 are not worded. Section 2 shouldn't be there, and Section 3 is not worded appropriately. So without those amendments, I have to be no on this ordinance as worded.
Somebody care to make a motion?
I just had a quick question. So if someone were to potentially be, call it detained, arrested, unlawfully, so to speak, where was I going to go with this? So, well, it doesn't matter. We're good to go. Never mind.
Anybody else?
Yeah, just a comment. So there's been a lot of discussion around this, a lot of passion around it. For some of us on city council, we did find out about this just because we were getting emails and stuff like that. So I think when the alder person say they're willing to bring it back up, I believe them. So I'm assuming this will come back up. Also, we're also free to help bring it back up if going across the board. So. That's it.
Anybody else? Okay, we have a motion and second. Clerk, call the roll.
Lohman. Aye. Pieper.
Aye.
Fehrenbach.
Aye.
Anderson.
No.
White.
Aye.
Baraza. Aye. Lancy.
No.
Beck.
Aye.
Malay.
Aye.
Malone.
Aye.
Wolf.
No.
Solfa.
No.
Barron.
No.
Lehman.
Aye.
9 yes, 5 no.
Motion is approved. All right, city council updates. I think we've already been through these.
I think we've been through those. Nothing since the last
Nothing
one.
in the last 7-10 minutes.
I move we adjourn.
It's been a great Monday. It's my report.
Oh. We still have to adjourn.
Yes.
We still have to adjourn.
And that's you all.
Okay, I'll do that later then. Okay, I withdraw my motion. I move that we go into executive session.
Oh, that's right.
For the
No
purpose
offense to
of
Wendy,
collective
but
bargaining.
in all fairness, none of the rest of the stuff has been.
I'm sorry, we have a motion from Wolf and a second. Thank you.
This last one was 12 on the roll.